shit year.
There you go. Done. Okay. Well,
Unfortunately, so yeah, I never got the MJ craze. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Elton John.
there we
I
go.
do like a bit. I
Oh,
need to
no,
see
I
Oh, wait, wait, wait,
I
wait,
need
wait.
to see Rocket Man so bad. I will go and see it on my own if I have to as well. That's how sad I'll be.
Don't
What
mind
is it?
this.
Garfield
There's food
and
on the table.
Garfield and Garfunkel and
Oh, Simon
Simon
Garfunkel.
Garfunkel.
yeah, Simon Garfunkel. Loved them as a kid. One of my family friends had one of their live concerts on tape, and he had a full surround sound system. So what we would do, we would get in these 2 lean back chairs, sit in the middle of the room, and close our eyes in
Right, are we
complete
ready?
darkness, listening to it. It was
I am.
amazing. It felt like we were there.
Right. Okay.
Fantastic.
We got like 5 seconds of Titch, by the way.
Huh?
We got 5 seconds of you on camera.
Oh.
Okay.
Should have said I'd have done a striptease or something. You finished, yes?
Yes,
Start with the bottom first.
You can't be topless on Twitch, you get banned.
Sorry?
Can't be topless on
Males
Twitch.
can now.
No, they can't.
No, they've rebought it.
Male
Males-
nipples.
Yeah, males can be, females can't for whatever reason.
Right. Okay. We ready?
Spawn, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'll do a quick, because we only did 1 session technically, so there's not a lot of catching up to do. Long story short, everyone went to sleep in the embassy. They woke up in a white space. Fate did some shenanigans, including a game show, a bar, and a maze. Some other random shit happened. Long story short, the motto is you try to teach characters how to develop better and have a little bit of empathy, but apparently backfired on Fate because
We didn't know
and
anything.
they didn't know anyone. So yeah, that kind of, it was an interesting session.
Yes, it was a really nice, good session. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
And then the last half an hour then was just
I'll have to look
sorting.
at that
I think they
page.
went shopping or
Important
something.
notes
You went to
there.
see Mama Naga, so she went to see her. I don't know how to describe it. Her guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mentor.
Well, yeah.
I tried to get more information on the hunt, but couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
Basically,
Because technically there's nothing like that here. It's just more of a human thing. So that kind of backfired on you, by the way.
Right.
Because there's no Adventures Guild in the Elven Empire. So like when you did the quest, he's come here now, but he's trying to figure out who handed the quest out, but nobody knows about it because they don't do that sort of thing. So
and I'm
it's-
also trying to find out information about some exotic creature because that's all I've got knowledge on, and I can't find anything interesting other than there's a
I
demon
can't
lord.
remember what you
Can't
did.
remember either.
There's like an
Alright.
archdemon or something that they're trying to take care of,
Let's
but
see if
they
my-
like doing
Oh.
it themselves.
The most important thing was Viola tried to give the scroll to Derek.
Which scroll? Oh yeah, that's
the man
Yes.
You
producing.
talked her out of that.
I talked her out of that
Well done.
yeah.
by bargaining information and pocketing the scroll for myself.
Right, okay, so here's what's going to happen in this stream.
I remember when we finished last time, I went out looking in the night for my parents.
Everyone's going to die in the stream. Is that what's happening? Is it?
Yes.
No, shut up.
I just rolled poorly on my
No,
investigation.
the first bit, I don't know how long it's going to take. It's essentially going to be a lore dump. Basically, it's going to be role play as well. So you are your characters. Basically, so what's happened is after the last session, Viola doesn't remember what happened with Fate, but she's very shooken up.
Okay.
She refuses to, from what I remember.
No, she genuinely just doesn't remember. Or your character assumes that she just doesn't want to remember.
Yeah, because of the way she was acting
Okay.
during the dream sequence.
Yeah. She had a mental breakdown because it was the first time.
Literally mental breakdown.
It was the first time seeing Fate. Basically, everything that she knew was brought into question. So she kind of had
Her
Yeah.
eyes open.
Oh,
You-
and Juanita was there.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah, you were there. Dribbling.
Juanita was there.
I was there where?
Dribbling.
Oh yeah, you kind of need to know this then. So there was a box. So these three were like playing like in these games, like I said, a game show, a maze, all these other challenges. You, Juanita, Viola,
A box.
the woman in green, and a box-like coffin were all in Fate's sort of like general area. So you were like observers, but your character was zonked out the entire way through. But what he did say was, and I will mention it, was that the characters in the box with him, he considers them the most threat-like, almost entertaining people.
Okay.
Okay.
So one or the other. Which one
Yeah.
is it?
And we need to kind of have a slight match with him, and then he was like, "No, you were annoying, so I had to turn you into a villain." Was what he said, which she did not like the ramifications of. Right. Okay. So, like I said, Lauda.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I just got a picture of food. That's all I have. I mean, that's
Cool.
fine.
Food's good.
Food's good.
Food's
Get
good.
one hungry
Can you see
if they
that?
watch.
My
Yeah.
phone malfunctioning. I was worried my phone sent a photo of food. Then I was like, oh god, what's it doing?
Right. So, long story short, Amy / Viola is gonna have you all sit down in the embassy with her.
Yeah.
And after a shake-up, she's going to share as much information as she can about the world. I realised from last session that probably I should have done this in the first place. So you kind of like have a general idea of what's going on.
And characters.
In characters, yeah, in characters. So you can interrupt to have conversations, ask questions about certain things.
Can we say that because we leveled up at the start, like the end of last session, after I've taken 10 gold out of my total, can I already have my familiar with me?
Yes.
Cool. Archimedes on my shoulder.
Well,
You leveled up, leveled up after Fate, didn't you?
after it all, I'm
Yeah.
sure of it. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
an owl.
Nice. Nice. You've got Warlock. Okay.
No.
Cucumber.
I did
Because
ritual,
of the
ritual
because of my
cast
phone
Oh,
malfunctioning,
and
I'll get my
she's-
character
sure,
level
right.
next
I'll
week.
introduce
Okay.
Just
Cucumber
because
to
it's all malfunctioning.
Archimedes.
It'll just be a bit
Do you
awkward.
remember who Cucumber is?
Okay.
The little rabbit
Yes.
snake.
Sorry,
my,
tablet
my
didn't
bad
have-
bracelet.
No, it's working
Familiar
good and it's
thing.
helping me get notes, so that's
Oh, yeah,
that's
okay.
at least
Yes, I
something.
don't use
Oh, okay.
it.
Just is going to be a bit of a headache to get the leveling up sorted.
So Viola's gonna all sit you down and she'll say, "Oh no, I've got to act like a posh pretentious cunt for like
Yes,
an hour
you
now."
do.
Right, okay.
Here we go.
Get the cigarette. So
No,
Viola,
Don't feel the essence of Viola yet.
There's no smoking area by
Yeah,
it.
no,
so-
no smoking.
can I borrow a pencil actually?
I doubt Kira can make a vape.
Well, hey.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough.
Alright, okay.
I just feel like this whole session that I'm going to be told to fuck off.
Yeah.
We go home feeling loved.
Yeah.
So we're in this together now, and yes, I suppose as your benefactor, I should share some more information with you. I've been a little bit hostile of late, but I have realised that maybe having
So
more
opinion,
allies is probably the wisest of decisions. So I need you guys to be 100% on side.
Okay.
So what that means is I will share all and everything that I know, and we shall start from the beginning, if you like, which is the creation of the world, I suppose. So there are a number of stories. It's not 100% known what happened because it happened so long time ago. So we're talking millions upon billions of years ago. Some people say that the world happened in a bang. Some people say it just suddenly happened. Other people say that the world was made in 7 days, which is a load of cold swallowed in my opinion. The most known and supported theory is the 6 gods and 0, because we know the 6 gods exist.
So the 7 gods.
0 isn't a part of the pantheon per se. She's more of an outliner. More of
Where did 0 come from? Was 0 created by the gods?
Where
by
did
the
the gods?
6?
Where did the gods come from?
exactly.
Oh,
We
now
don't
we're
really
going
know. So let's start off from the beginning. So the 6 gods appeared.
Yeah.
There are some theories. Some people just say that they happened all at once. Other people say, which is some evidence, because some people have spoken to the gods, is that they came in a specific order. First that appeared was Halal, goddess of chaos, arts, all that other stuff. You know,
H-L-A-L, yes?
yes, H-L-A-L. Yes.
Goddess, you said.
Yeah, she's a goddess, yes.
Oh. Of.
Chaos, the arts. The things that cannot be controlled or described in specific words.
Okay.
She's more of a feely person, if you know what I mean. I'm not really one to relate.
Practical.
No, not practical at all. The complete opposite.
Oh.
She'll break people's legs and bones just just because she feels like it.
Oh, she's a real Da Vinci then.
Yeah, but you could
As
describe
a
her.
character and all.
No, in
Yeah.
character, she agrees. She knows the name Da Vinci.
Fair, but I, in character, don't necessarily. I'm
Yeah,
lending
out
the
of
tool
character.
there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your character wouldn't say that,
Yeah,
but I'm going to
exactly.
say as a DM, she does know who Da Vinci
Okay.
is.
Cool.
So, to describe her, she likes the black leathers, corsets,
Ooh.
sort of wears a hood. Nobody knows what's underneath the hood.
How do I get her number?
Yeah, same.
She's very, like I said, very feely. Not much is really known about her, but they say that she came out of the chaos, out of nothing, onto the planet, and was on her own, and spread her will, as it were.
Okay, to who?
To no one. There was no one there.
Okay.
So she was just chaotic, like a small child running around randomly on her own.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, like
She wasn't even chaotic, maybe she just came into an empty world that turned her chaotic.
Possibly.
Well-
She went mad. That could be possible. Haven't heard that theory before, but it is possible. We don't have a lot of information on it. The next person to come was Tron. Complete opposite of Halal.
Okay.
Description-wise, what is very prevalent in information is that he wears a shining set of armour and sword and shield. It's very radiant, apparently.
Can't spell. Sorry, plate was it?
Heavy armour. Think you're...
Paladin.
Yes, paladin, essentially.
And it radiates light.
Yes. Of course, Trom is the god of law and order. And goody two shoes and all this other stuff. The person that gets stuff in order. Of course, when he came into existence and he saw Halal running around like a complete
No.
idiot.
Stop it.
Yeah, apparently a war broke out between the two of them.
Ooh.
Wee.
Can you call 1v1 a war?
Yes.
When
Isn't that what a war is?
the gods are literally throwing miracles at each other.
It's a fight then, isn't it?
That don't really know. We don't know a lot of information, unfortunately. Not sure if you'll get an answer.
You might.
So after a time of these two fighting, Moradin came into existence. Moradin is the god of invention. Descriptions say that she has she's very goddess. Well, as I was saying, description says that she has a female-like body of a dwarf, but has a beard, like some dwarves do. So her gender is very grey, should we say. And she wears heavy plate as well, so she has feminine features, but her beard, we don't know what's underneath the heavy armour plate, so...
Maybe it's her skin.
Take her out for a drink and hope for the
You played
best.
yourself.
Now, when Moradin came into existence, it said that she found the fight entertaining and gave them weapons and skills to use to further their goals. Then we had backup.
Hang on, I'm still writing up
Yes.
Moradin.
No. Backup was...
That was a twat.
I haven't met him personally, but in descriptions they do say he has a bit of a tone to him. So I wouldn't disagree with that. statement.
BACCOB?
Oh god.
He did try to forcibly take me under his wing.
Oh, really?
I told you, Mooney stopped him,
Huh.
pulled me out of it.
Huh.
Yes. I wouldn't know how she did it. Oh, my cigarette's falling in my hand. I wouldn't know how she did it. But
Careful now, you don't want to burn yourself.
I wouldn't know how she did it, but Yes, Mooney in theory could have done that. You just have to snap you out of your sleep, I suppose. Simple process. I wouldn't have done it personally because you wouldn't know what would have happened. But anyway, he's described wearing an outfit that is forever changing. Sometimes it looks like a lab coat, sometimes it looks like a suit, sometimes it looks like a t-shirt. It's just forever cycles. The one thing that's prevalent is always purple.
What's a t-shirt?
It's this thing, and she starts describing a t-shirt where like it's a shirt with no sleeves basically. The sleeves are shorter.
Wow. Just gonna be playing with my long wavy thing.
So what is back of the god of?
Magic.
Magic. Oh.
So when he came into existence and saw the fight going on, Moradin provided the weapons, he provided the magic. And the fight went on continually while Moradin and Bakub just watched. They're both slightly chaotic themselves, not as chaotic as Halal, but nevertheless they've got a certain childlike innocence about them, perhaps.
Who's that?
Moradin and Bakub.
Oh.
They're more curious about what things going on. You know, invention, magic. They want to unravel the mysteries of the universe. Although they are on opposite sides of each other, it is said they don't like each other. The fifth goddess to come into existence was Aetherius. Aetherius is described as a tall, thin, beautiful woman with long, blonde hair, often wearing green turquoises, a very flowy sort of look to
Missed
her.
all of that because I was still doing backup.
So long blonde hair.
Yeah, usually wears greens and turquoises, very beautiful.
I missed everything on her.
Yeah.
I just said it like twice
Oh,
now.
sounds like more my kind of type.
What was the start from Aetherius?
She's described as very beautiful.
Tall, thin, beautiful woman, long blonde hair,
Likes to wear greens and turquoises.
and flowy looks.
Yes. You could say very elf-like.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Turquoise. Turquoise.
Now, Aetherius is of a similar mind to Trom, but a bit more free in her approach.
Okay.
So, she tried to break up the fight between Trom and Halal with little to no success. It's theorized that Trom and Halal are the two stronger gods. They're the more martial of the gods. So, breaking up a fight between those two would be
Hell of a feat.
yes. So Aetherius couldn't do it on her own, of course.
What's she the god of?
Sort
God
of
of
life, lights, fertility.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, she's there from the beginning, holds your hand almost to the end, essentially.
Oh.
Once she knew that she wasn't going to stop the fight, she tried to get Bakub and Moradin involved to try and stop. But of course, like I said, yeah, they wanted to see where it would go, who would win. So it was still at a deadlock. The final god to appear was Dragel. And it's said that Dragel used his scythe to cut in between the two and stop the fight in an instant. Can't really do much against the god of death, I assume.
So, mum or
So-
dad stop the children fighting.
So tried to stop the fight with his scythe.
Yeah, and he succeeded in an instant, apparently.
It's weird. Like he's saying that Halal and Tron are like, or Tron are like the martial most powerful, and this last one came along and managed to stop them.
Well, you can't really, like I said, you can't. Death is,
An absolute.
yeah, the final.
So, what do we know of the gods now?
Yeah. I haven't got enough room for that on this piece of paper.
Oh, Drugel is usually seen in long flowing black robes. Essentially the epitome of the
Death.
god of death.
As you'd see
Yeah.
the Grim Reaper.
Yes. It's said that for a time the six, with the guidance of Aetherius and Drugel mostly,
Okay.
So what was that a bit?
with the guidance of Aetherius and Drugel mostly, tried to create life on the planet they were on. With no success.
I'm just going to use numbers for them.
Yeah, that might have been a better idea.
A number of things are said about the gods other than this, but we don't really know all the facts. So, for example, we do know that Aetherius had a twin brother. Whether or not he came into being with her or after, we don't really know.
Aetherius had a twin.
Twin brother, yes.
Huh.
Fun.
We also know that at some point Halal had a lover. Whether or not that happened before, after.
Halal had a lover. That's fun. Is that why they went to war?
Sure wasn't herself.
Were they each in
Apparent-
love with each other? Was
Apparently,
Halal in love with Trom,
Mm.
god and goddess?
I've heard that their relationship's more like a brother and sister. As in, they fight a lot. They like each
Yeah.
other because they're
Halal and Trom,
Well,
it's a love-hate relationship.
opposites attract.
Yes.
indeed.
But Halal had a lover. Apparently, the lover was able to sate her somewhat, make her more calm.
Alright. Yeah, I get it.
Yes. Because of this, Halal's more chaotic tendencies were checked, basically.
Okay.
So
Was this all before life?
we don't know. It's just these little stories that crop up from time to time.
Oh, bugger.
Pieces of information that I've collected over the years, should we say?
No, absolutely. These aren't all just old wives' tales. And
Possibly, like I said, the Order of the Gods could have been just an old wives' tale. But I believe this to be true because it's the one that we have the most information on, and the fact that the gods are here emphasizes that.
Yeah, okay.
There's enough evidence to support it. Essentially, the other theories don't have little to no evidence. So they didn't.
Probably out there.
They couldn't create life. So apparently at some point or another, when the six were going to give up, Zero appeared out of nowhere.
Maybe Zero was the creator of them all.
It's a theory. There's not a whole lot of evidence to support this thinking. However, the fact that she can interact with things that the other gods can't interact has some credence to that theory.
Oh, the other gods interact with.
The Earth itself.
So, with Zero's ability, as the name suggests, is that she can interact with nothing and turn it into something. Even the gods can't make something out of complete thin air. They might be able to make water out of thin air and stuff like that, basic necessities, but they can't make things like events suddenly change without cause and effect. As long as there's a small percentage of something happening, the gods can interact with it, and that's called a miracle. But Zero goes beyond that. If she can make
She can make a miracle.
Zero's
yes.
potentially the person that created life. If she can make something from nothing.
Yes, so with the six gods, with Zero's help, made the first life forms. And they were called simply the first. A man and a woman.
Adam and Eve.
In other stories, that's what they call them, I suppose. They were considered a failure, however.
Oh.
They were human in design. However, they never aged, and they weren't as strong as the gods. Let's just say Zero is ability kind of went off whack and made something similar to a half god, should we say?
Demi.
That is a term that I've heard before.
So they were human in design and didn't age.
Yes, and they had powers similar to the gods. Weaker, but not something a non-mortal should possess. So the gods ripped them off essentially. Didn't destroy them per se, just kind of left them to their own devices.
Oh, fucking words.
Up to this point, they hadn't made any life at all. Apparently, the world that we lived on now was extremely barren. There was nothing on it. They could make things like water, food, sustenance, because they had the ideas. For example, they could make a bread out of thin air. But when it came to life, apparently the intricacies were just beyond their reach. Basically, it's only with Zira's help that they were able to make life itself.
If Muradin could invent things, why didn't she invent a sort of template, I guess, for what they wanted?
I suppose she was more interested in the fight. Like I said, she did have a childlike demeanour. Although, I wouldn't know. It's not really been brought up, I suppose. Why, if the gods are so powerful, why couldn't they do anything on their own in the first place? Is a question that people have asked for ages. It's just we never had an answer. It's just always been stated that Zero has been the superior one. She's not worshipped like the other 6 gods. However, we recognise her as someone beyond the gods, essentially. So the 6 gods are the pantheon, and she's sort of like an entity out of the pantheon.
Like a god liaison.
Yes, I suppose.
Support help desk.
So
You try turning it off and on again.
So they left these.
What do you mean you didn't put in a liver?
They left these 2 to their own devices. Left them for apparently a couple of millennia. They hadn't aged. While all this was happening, the gods were, with Zero's help, making things like plant life and, things a bit more complicated than simple atoms and chemical reactions, should we say.
So help the gods create plants.
Just living things. Could be plants, animals. Things slightly more complicated than hydrogen and oxygen.
I wonder what would have happened if they had Derek on that job.
I don't want to think about it.
He was there.
I have no idea what.
That's put mud in at the time.
Derek wasn't always like he is today.
Right. So, it is said, however, that these 2 beings eventually did become the first of the royal family. We don't know how many generations there were after these, if they were even able to breed in the first place.
Better than inbreeding.
They're just accepted as the precursor for the royal family, which is why the royal family are above average in skill and talent.
Specifically, the royal family or each royal family or the families from.
Oh, the
Rasta, the church.
This is where things get a bit complicated. So the royal family, which are in the royal capital, those are the descendants of the original 2.
Okay, so
I'm stopping.
Kira's gonna go through a pouch and try and find one of the herbal cigarettes again and pass it over.
She'll try it and throw it on the floor.
not perfected still. Bugger.
Go back to playing with my sleeves.
Yes, so this is where things get substantially more complicated. After creating basic life, they went back to the precursor of the original 2 and tried to make intelligent life a second time.
Okay.
They each made a pair for each god, so there are a total of 6 pairs, so 6 men and 6 women. And They were called the Seekers.
Oh. So try to make life again.
Yet again, they were far more.
Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's
For each god.
underline that one.
6 male, 6 female. These were called the Seekers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yet again, they were considered not as bad as a failure as the original two. However, they were slightly above average in talent than the gods wanted. Apparently, they could cast spells of will without any
Okay.
penalties.
Why did the gods want such mediocrity when they could have such perfection?
Apparently, they were longing for something that they missed, is what is said. They wanted something similar to what they're accustomed to.
Which was?
Well, we'll get there later in the story.
Ooh, shiny. Sorry, did fate pop out then?
When you mentioned the word fate, you say, fate is something that cannot be controlled. So the fact that you keep spurring on this entity called fate, and he's everything and nothing at the same time. But you were there. She'll sigh at this and she says, "Well, I don't honestly know what you're talking about." So each of the gods had their own pair of seekers, and they had a name.
The Seekers had a name.
Each of the pair had a name, a family
Oh,
name.
so the pair had a name.
Yes.
Right.
So Halal's pair were called the Jesters.
Okay, I'm about a second. Okay.
So the last name was Jester.
Ah, I stabbed my knee.
Careful.
Legends say they were extremely primal and unstable. They liked to break things a lot. Laughed a lot, indulged in their primal wants
So
and needs.
exactly like a jester.
Or
With a
hal-
touch of
or
Slanesh.
halal.
Yes.
That actually sounds like fun.
Yeah, Slanesh. That's got Slanesh written all over it.
No,
you know,
they-
40k law.
They also didn't really understand the concept of
I know,
right
that
and
is
wrong
right.
either.
So
Was-
they didn't know what?
The concept of right or wrong either.
Was morality a thing at this point?
With Trom's existence, yes.
I thought morality started off with the humans.
It's inherently a Trom trait.
Okay.
At this time, there are only 14 people in the world.
Yes.
I don't think it's even as high as that, is it?
It's the 6 gods, the
Yeah,
two
you
the
can't
2
count
original
them,
and the
it's
12. So
So
it's 14, like you say.
you could say that Tron was the one who
6
created morality.
12.
You could say that Tron
20.
was the one who created
Passive.
morality.
With his
Gods
existence,
in the
yes.
Yeah, with the gods it's 21.
Yeah.
Well, because of
With the gods it's 21 if you include 0 as one of the gods.
I suppose.
So yeah, the halal.
It's
was-
said the Jesters eventually died out. With all of that internal fighting and hurting each other and others, they didn't really focus on preserving their existence.
Okay.
So
Did they breed?
there were a couple of generations, it's said, or it's been supported by some written evidence. They bred into the other 6 families because there was only other 10 other people they could breed
It's
with.
just
So
seems
Indeed,
some
yeah.
volatile concoction of different
ideologies,
personalities
yes.
clashing
Well,
into one big
How it
mess.
So
goes.
think about it, we're only a small pool of people, really, when you go back to generations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So much inbreeding
Everyone's
in the history.
connected.
Mm-hmm.
Trom
Yeah.
Trom seekers were called righteous. A bit pretentious, but it gets the name across essentially.
What was the name, sorry?
Righteous.
Trump sounds so dull.
Righteous. How do you spell righteous? R-I-G-H-T.
E-U-S.
E-O-U-S.
O-U-S.
Okay.
They were the ones to come up with the concept of a law. and the difference between right and wrong. Although Trom inherently gave this property to them, they were the ones that implemented it in writing.
They pooped the party.
Yes.
They were the original party poopers.
I'm getting the image in my head of like Romans.
They were very observant of their surroundings. And they often thought before
So the
acting.
first written law was by them.
Yes.
Hang on, I've got a question about
I mean, once you get past the number of 10, I suppose there have to be some ground rules.
Absolutely. What was the first law?
I think it was no murder or something like that.
So,
No, not dull. A little bit boring.
so
It is said that, as you mentioned before, humans are very moral creatures. It's said that the righteous seekers are sort of a precursor to humans. The humans possess more traits from this side of the gene pool than the others.
yes, they are incredibly boring.
Thanks.
Sorry?
They didn't kill each other. Like the jesters.
Then we have the Seekers of Moradin, who
Are
are
they
called.
presumed dead or alive?
The specific family of the Seekers, the righteous family, no longer exists. However, branch families still exist of all the 6 families, including the Jesters.
Of course, yes.
Yes.
They bred.
Yeah,
and
bred.
One name got lost.
Yeah.
Of course.
There are only 2 names that now technically exist which are original. 3 if you include Therius's, which we'll get to.
Okay.
I bet that's where the church capital came from, was the righteous.
Yeah, I'll bet. No, that'll be.
That's, well,
No.
when we get to the church capital, that was where the
Church in
gods appeared in the world. So all the races kind of congregated there.
Okay.
Then you have the Seekers of Moradin, just simply known as the Smithies.
Oh, I like these.
No.
They were inventors and builders of the world. They made houses, made the more practical things, made things a part of the machine, a cog in the works.
Nice.
It's said that they are the precursors for dwarves.
Oh, I like them
Yeah.
already, even though I'm not a dwarf.
Um,
I'm a dwarf at heart.
Oh.
they are.
Got the hype.
The Smithy family is the
No,
only
true.
one of 2 original family names to still exist.
Ooh.
Oh, the Smithies still exist.
Yes.
Oh,
It's,
wow.
it is said that they are, well, we know, the kings of the Dwarven Empire are the Smithy family.
Oh, cool.
Every time you say that, I'm just picturing Gavin's face. Gavin's face.
You
Oh, yeah.
you have met the Smithler family, which are from Yazda.
Yes.
They are a branch family.
Let me just catch up a minute.
This
Smithler's 2 seconds. Sorry.
yeah. This side of the gene pool was very dependent on each other, so that that's why the family name has lasted for so long, was because they'd rather work together than see their own mutual destruction, basically.
Oh, like it. Smart.
Work together.
Then we have the Seekers of Backup. They were simply known as Maggie. M-A-G-I. Maggie.
Not Maggie Smith.
Oh, Magi. M-A-G-I.
Yeah, Magi.
So we're in
Magi
combination
and
with
Magi.
God's families.
Maggie Smith. Yeah.
I thought that's where it was going then as well.
No.
Huh? Fuck. Is it
They
that
were-
obvious?
They were highly magical inclined and wanted to learn beyond the mortal realm that they knew up until that point.
The first scholars.
Essentially, yes. Yet again, it's said that they died out because rather than breeding, they focused on the more intricacy things that happened in the universe. They were the ones, as you said, the first tome dwellers, book writers, you know. The Wandlers, which you have met before, are a branch family. One of the last few, actually. So they're considered one of the more pure of the Maggie line.
What was the name of the offshoot? Sorry, then.
A Wandler. So that would be Moonshine Wandler. You know, crazy white hair.
Mooney.
Yeah, Mooney.
Yeah, Mooney. Wandler. Wandler.
Yes.
Cool.
Then you had Aether, the Seeker of Theriuses.
What was that one? Sorry,
Aether.
Let me guess, they were the first druids.
They said they lived one day at a time. They loved the present, the now. They just wanted to live life to the fullest, essentially. Similar to the Halal seekers, except a bit more not destructive.
So the opposite.
They were more good-natured, I suppose.
Okay.
There's some scary similarities though.
Yeah.
They were very simplistic. It's said that they are the precursor of elves.
There is no family of elves, is there? That's true.
No. So with this situation, the Aether family wasn't really focused on the purity of the bloodline itself. So they sort of like bred out like the other branch families. Although it has been adopted that Aether has now become a title rather than a name. So the five maidens which we are going to meet eventually have the title of Aether. It's not an inherited name now, it's a name given.
Okay.
And then finally you have the Seekers of Regal, which are Blacken.
Whoa.
Oh, they're still.
Yeah, they're still
Pure.
around, they're still somewhat pure. They were extremely withdrawn and often kept to themselves. Very secretive.
Very secretive.
Yes, they were obsessed with being closer to those that
Who
created
have we
them.
met that's a black one?
Diana.
What was that last bit before the Diana part?
They were obsessed with being as close to the gods as possible.
Oh.
So often they were
Devout.
clerics, extremely devout, yes. Clerics, clergymen, servers of the gods.
The
essentially.
capital.
Somewhat the church capital, I suppose.
I don't know if you'd be devout of death. That's technically a good thing or not.
To the gods or just Regal?
All the gods. They were obsessed with being as close to them as possible, and they did have a bit of a big obsession with keeping their bloodline as pure as possible. They saw it as a gift.
Targaryens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
I more imagine the Slytherins.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, a little bit more of the history.
Oh, really? I'm followed Malfoy.
So, it said that over 1,000 years ago,
We
a
read the
branch
books.
family.
I've read
No.
the books, I don't remember.
I did.
I said so. It said that over 1,000 years ago, a branch family called the Darkens started a civil war with the Blackens.
Darken.
There was over name similarities.
No, we're the blackest. Shut up.
And it said that the Darkens were sort of like a cesspool of the genes. Specifically, they kept bringing up Dragel and Halal, the more destructive side of things, and they believed that the Blacken family were too pure to be considered the head of the family unit. But the Darkens are dead, and the Blackens are still around.
So are these Seekers, were they similar to avatars? Of gods?
It is said that in appearance they were somewhat human-like, but with crystalline appearance. So they had a shiny exterior to them somewhat. It's also said that their hair would change colour depending on what lighting appeared on it. Sort of like a diamond.
Human-like in appearance. With crystallines.
This is taking longer than I thought it would, but there is a lot to go through, I suppose.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'm only on.
So that's the beginning, essentially.
Dark,
Okay.
what were they?
Oh shit! That's one chapter.
So the Dark Ones,
Dark
yeah, which were the offshoot family.
not dark in. No.
Dark Ends. Dark Ends. If you're thinking of something to the Necromancer, they are very close to each other.
So possibly a branch of a branch.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like I said, the Civil War happened over 1,000 years ago. There's not a lot of information about it.
Well, I just had a thought about it. Wasn't the memory of the world wiped out 50 years ago?
What happened during the war 250 years ago was wiped out. Still pieces, tomes, knowledge were found. We may have lost our memory, but we didn't lose
The physical.
the physical knowledge.
Huh.
We're still trying to find pieces now.
That's what we're doing for you.
Yeah,
isn't it?
essentially, yes.
Time delving.
Do we have any questions about that so far?
Any snacks?
Oh, look here.
I'm gonna throw a pencil at you for that.
No, don't. I got a cigarette
It's on the floor
already.
now.
I believe, Ty, you said you wanted to know what happened with the gods.
Yes.
After the war, it said that 4 of the 6 were trapped in their own realm. They can communicate with us to a certain degree, but it's through very odd visions and the such. The only 2 gods which are trapped currently are Halal and Aetherius.
So, what trapped them? Any inkling?
We don't have any information on that, I'm afraid, but however, something of that degree, locking up 4 gods in their own personal realms seems quite powerful.
What's trapping them?
And what about Jagal?
He's trapped.
But his power is still exerted over this world. People are still
Dying, yes. It's said that they can feed stuff still. So, for example, if Tron was completely blocked off, things like paladins and clerics wouldn't exist.
Huh.
But they still do.
Yes.
unfortunately.
You're a cleric.
Oh, my god's not trapped.
From
Oh, bitch!
Halal is in a bit of a weird position because she's the strongest currently, but she's not doing anything.
Oh, why?
I don't believe
she's-
she's the strongest.
Who do you think's the strongest?
I think Zero's the strongest. I think Zero's the one that trapped them.
That's a theory. I mean, nobody really talks about it.
Where is Zero?
We don't know. Apparently, she was very close friends with the Queen in the royal capital, and after the war, she just vanished. There's been no sign of her.
What does the Queen have to say about it?
She's dead.
What did the Queen have to say about it?
They were friends.
It's just the idea of one entity
Note next to that.
being able to control in a way the other more powerful, or supposedly more powerful gods.
Which brings up the question: if Zero did do it, which is still a theory, why wouldn't she trap Halal and Aetherius? I believe, and this is my theory, Viola's theory, that some sort of powerful enchantment or magic happened during the war. We do know that there was some sort of weird tentacle monster absorbing things.
Nice.
So it could be theorized that magic was cast, but it was incomplete. Maybe Halal. It said that Halal wasn't a part of the war. She kept to herself mostly.
But war is chaos.
Yes, which is a bit odd. As for Aetherius, it said that she was a part of the war, but she was extremely damaged so at the start of it, so they took her somewhere else, which is why the elves currently tend to her needs.
Do I think that would I know if that's related to why I know that Aetherius is injured, or is that something else?
your character might conclude that, but you don't know. You haven't been
Okay.
given all the facts.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, it doesn't interest me really a zero.
If she is a person.
How's work feeling about
Just the
tentacles
anonymity of
monsters?
it is just what makes it piquing my curiosity.
He's already got his own theories on things.
Yeah.
Because he's been talking to other people about this already. Well, some of this anyway.
Okay, so. Any
He's
more
just going to
questions
sit there
about
and
the gods?
observe, basically, as he would do when given information.
And as you know, one of our aims is to find the remnants of the Seekers, which will. They still exist in their purest form, the crystalline form, but they're mostly died out.
So are there only the originals who are the Seekers?
No, they bred, and their descendants were crystalline in form as well. It's not until a couple of generations after that some genetic mutations started to happen. Which brings us on to the races.
I do have a small question. If obviously this particular world is inhabited by many people from other worlds, why can't God's other worlds connect to this world?
Yes, why can't the gods from my realm, Faerun, do things here?
I'm not too sure about gods, but there have been some demon fae interactions.
Oh, so the bad ones have.
Fae is questionable. We'll get to that in a minute.
But aren't things like the Abyss, the Shadowfell, and the Fae just interconnected between every world?
Yes,
So that's why it makes
zero sense.
it makes sense.
But
demons apparently- and
Fae, yeah?
Apparently, it's somewhat blocked off. We don't have all the information yet again.
So as an example, if a god from another world were to visit the Feywild or
Oh, that has happened before.
the Shadowfell, they would be able to
Cool.
reach this world.
Ooh, yet again, that's a more complicated story, which I'll have to get into. So onto the races, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Seekers bred within each other, the 6 original families. A couple of generations later, it's said that the first elf was born.
And they've been obnoxious ever since.
No offense.
I'm an elf.
No, she's not as well. Yeah.
I bet it's something to do with their height.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's said that the halflings came second after the elves. So
Hey,
it's not-
that's you.
Did they run out of height juice?
Anyway, she goes.
I'm gonna giggle from that. Wow.
The Seekers were a bit.
Heartless bitch.
The Seekers were. The Seekers were confused by this new.
It was gonna happen at some point.
They weren't. The elves aren't as hardy as the Seekers. They weren't. They were more. They weren't able to take as much wear and tear as the Seekers. But like I said before, the world up until this point.
How long would a Seeker live?
It's said they live slightly longer than elves, so it's anywhere between 800 to 1,000 years.
800. Okay. And the elves?
Elves lived up until about 700, I think. 750, something like that.
Standard elf ages.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It was very, like I said, it was a very confusing situation because elves. It's said in text that elves were more beautiful than Seekers in appearance. However, they weren't as hardy. They lived almost as long, and they were still magically attuned, but they lost their physical ability, should we say?
So said more beautiful, but weaker.
Physically,
Physically
yes.
weaker.
They were still magically attuned, however. Not as magically attuned as the Seekers, however. Seekers can still cast spells without cost. Elves adopted the knowledge very well of magic, however, they needed incantations and what we call spell slots.
So can cast without cost. Okay. That's fun.
The concept of an elf is far different from the other races because they reincarnate. So when this elf was born, so essentially was the Feywild.
Oh wow.
Somewhere far, far in the south. So the first elf grew up with the Seekers, knew that she was different, and she went south on her own.
Wow, that's awesome.
The Feywild, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. No, it's just double checking.
Wow.
So she, at the time, apparently the Poison Bridge was a desert land. So she travelled over sand dunes to get to the jungle forest area, which is the elf capital now. The Fey portal itself wasn't open at the time. However, because of her existence and her soul needed to go somewhere in order to reincarnate, things like Fey started to sweep into the world. So your weaker Feys, so things like pixies and satyrs and dryads. And that apparently the first elf bred with a dryad or a satyr.
Is that what became centaurs?
Even we don't know. That yet again, there's not a lot of information. It's not. This happened a millennia ago,
They had some really weird tastes.
and that's how the elven bloodline started. Because
what did they breed with? Sorry, the first
the
one?
other Fae.
That's
Whatever
where
the hell they
the
wanted.
crazy comes from. Mating with goat people and horse ladies.
Could be worse, could be the tentacles.
After a couple of generations of elves, they kept to themselves. Were very peaceful. They adopted the knowledge of the Seekers magically, and they made the capital within about 200 to 300 years. The very basics of it, at least.
Okay. Which capital?
The elven capital.
Oh, so the one
South.
that we're at.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
What's this called? What's the place called?
Oh. No, it's written down somewhere. Going from Raz to
300 years you said, is it?
yeah.
200 or 400 years. Yeah, the bracket.
I think it's like Golden Drew or something like that.
The elven capital.
Yeah, I think you've got it written down.
I've just written down
Something
elven
like that.
capital for now. Cool.
So after a couple of generations of the elves and them establishing themselves in the capital, a ripple appeared. And it was said that it was almost like the plane had been sundered in a specific place, basically. Some say the elves were experimenting on nature magic, and that's how the rift opened. Others say the elves had a somewhat of a civil war, and nature turned on them.
The ripple appeared, and then the
I haven't gotten to that part yet.
plane broke. Did you say?
I haven't said that yet.
You did say something on that matter, otherwise I wasn't writing it.
Plane was torn asunder.
Yeah, it's,
Something, bro.
yes.
Thank you.
As some say, even in jest, that Aetherius sneezed.
And this started appearing.
So
No,
rifts-
no rifts. Specifically, the portal to the Feywild
Yeah.
appeared.
Where is the portal to the Feywild?
In Aetherius's resting place, where the tree is, where the tree ants are circling around it currently.
Which is
Yeah,
just where?
I was here for that.
you were here for this. You were all here for this. I think I described the capital to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'll go back to it at some
Yeah.
point.
There
Please.
is here then.
I have
Yes.
the hand out here if we need it as well in a bit.
Um,
The elven capital.
And out of the portal, the first of, I would say, she's considered a god by some, but just an archfey by others. Titania came out of the rift. Titania, as you probably all know, is the leader of the Sealy Court.
Of the who?
The Sealy Court. C-S-E-E.
You mentioned that last time.
Yes, vaguely.
I do remember
Yeah.
the names.
So Titania came out of the rift.
Yes, and she's the leader of the Sealy Court. So she's got her husband Oberyn, a couple of her children, and at the time she only had a twin sister, but she did eventually get a half sister, which we'll get to eventually.
Just like, I know this could just be from like world to world, but if the Feywild is everywhere at once, technically when Aetherius went there, she would have just brought the Feywild to this world from the omnipotent sort of layout of it as it is.
Apparently the world was just nothing. It was only when the first elf was born that we started to see Fey-like entities.
Okay.
Oh, that's what some of the texts say. This is still not 100%. So, Titania is the leader of the Sealy Court, a group of powerful Fae, and there are some gods that serve underneath her, like the god of trees, which I forget the name of. And the Sealy Court are governors of nature, essentially. So, when the elves started to intersect and communicate with nature, the Fae technically answered their call, and Titania appeared. It's said when she first appeared, Titania is very childlike in some sense. So when she appeared out of the rift, the first thing she asked of the elves was a song and dance.
Oh.
That sounds very Fey-like.
A member of the Aether family played a harp for her, and she was pleased and entertained. And it's said that this member of the Aether was the first maiden of Aetherius. It's said that once Titania entered this plane, she did comment and say that it was difficult for her to remain on the plane. She said it was very disruptive to her. Titania, in a sense, is essentially nature itself. Fae themselves are nature themselves. You could say if gods make nature and living things, elves are essentially nature itself, the byproducts. So yeah, like I said, Titania had difficulty remaining on the plane, so she left.
Ink's running out.
She left her twin sister, the Queen of Hags, to look after the Feywilds for her.
Oh.
The threat, I feel like every powerful Fey has a twin.
Is that true?
Most of them, I don't. I think
Aetherius
Oberyn.
had a twin. Titania had a twin.
Oh yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh shit
I
balls.
suppose it's the chaotic nature of the Fae to be like that sort of.
Have you seen my twin?
It said that Titania and her sister were twins, and different sides of the same coin. Her sister was extremely beautiful and almost as powerful as Titania. It is said that the Queen of Hags and a member of the Aether family also had children.
And a member of what family?
The Aether family, the Seekers, yeah. Yeah. They said they bred, but there's no evidence to support this. Only
If the
passing
amount of
comment.
twins all about the place, it seems rather likely.
Eventually, nature made Fae. The nature of this plane made Fae naturally. Up until this point, they'd been seeping in from other planes and realms.
Okay.
So, actual Fae
became of
So the
the
plane.
Fey activity over the years just literally caused a Fey-like area just to appear.
Yes.
It's not. It technically is not the Fey Wild. It's just akin to the Fey Wild.
It's said that it's connected to the other Feywild, but it's apparently very difficult to
So
hop over.
You could
It's
technically go, for example, you could go back to Faerun via the
I could
Fey,
get back home.
the Fey Wild from here to the Fey Wild.
that's probably the best bet for you going home. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's a very important knowledge, like it.
Yes, I'm going home.
If you could say, the only way I can describe it is, it's like two islands, and there's nothing in between it. So like you could swim over to the other islands,
We
Okay.
could chop down the trees on this island and build boats to travel across.
in theory, but with great difficulty and cost. I mean,
It's a lot of money.
there's been one or two people that have tried, and we've never heard from them again. So it's possible that
Either they got
they're
home.
home or they died.
Nice.
Okay.
Interesting,
Fun.
very interesting.
And everything was peaceful and nice and happy, and the elves did a little dancing jig with the Fae, and then the first evil Fae was created.
Bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, it was gonna happen.
Lore says that the first evil Fae was a regular hag. Hags are extremely rare. As the queen of hags,
Were?
yeah, they're not as rare anymore.
Oh, yeah. I know that.
Yeah. As the queen of hags, this person that was ruling in Titania's stead, made sure that the Feywilds were to remain peaceful. Although she herself was a hag, she knew the implication of other hags may cause things to become problematic.
Friction.
Yes, so she chose to, if a hag was born, things happened.
What?
She threatened
She
the
prob-
fire. Or
She probably killed them, is what I'm saying.
Curb stomping happened.
Oh, shit balls.
I don't like being manipulated. That eases my conscience.
So, however, one of these hags got past the Queen of Hags and fled into the forest.
Oh, so the queen. Okay, let me sort of write that down.
Then there must have been others that also escaped. Cause
Yeah,
When we
I
went
mean,
into the cave.
she was a powerful fae, but she's not omnipotent. She's not like the
like
gods.
what I've heard of
She's an archfey.
archdevils that can just create devils from nowhere. Could she technically just create more hags?
The logic behind it has been lost because the Queen of Hags is dead.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
You know,
Killed
in
her.
red.
But this isn't
Her
that.
half sister.
Oh.
Does one go away?
It gets a bit more complicated. No. So this hag that fled was extremely jealous of the world around her and decided that she wanted to rip it apart.
Wow.
As hags do. She apparently started feeding off elf children in blood rituals to try and get strength. Which eventually led to her feeding on her own kind. So she would start feeding on dryads and centaurs.
Oh,
And
shit.
First
Druid.
evil thing.
And through trial and error, she eventually learned how to cast blood magic.
Oh, shit balls. Who do blood magic? That's stupid.
Yeah, who does that?
Who does that?
Yeah.
First evil thing was a hag, so well
If I,
missed.
if out of character, if I make a blood mage, I make a blood mage.
First evil
So cool.
hag was in the Feywild.
Make a blood
She
mage,
was the
so cool.
first hag in essence, except for the hag queen.
Yeah.
Because the hag queen
Was killing off all
killed
the other
them,
hags.
curb stomped.
This
other
one
hags.
escaped the,
This one has escaped
the
the
screening
Feywilds.
process
Hang
and
on a second.
escaped.
Yeah.
Escaped the Feywilds, yes.
Yeah, and went into the forested
So
area of
she
the
gave,
Elven
she gave her
capital.
little baby faced eyes and then like sniggered as she walked away, rubbing her hands together.
Into the forest and cannibalised, essentially.
She started feeding off on elven children and then moved away up to other fae. And then through trial and error, she made a second bend in the plane.
Hang on.
Hence, I don't think the other thing.
So, who made the bend shot then?
The hag that escaped.
Discovered blood
The
magic.
evil hag.
Yeah, the evil hag.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, the evil hag also had the blood magic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this.
Value blood ritual.
It said that she wanted a world of her own, somewhere to call home, essentially. Somewhere for her little evil heart to have solace.
Made another portal, was that silly?
Yeah, made another bend. Unfortunately, what she got was a painful death. Squished by a shadow dragon.
Oh, shit.
Like just immediately, or did that come later on? Was it literally she completed her blood magic?
Yes, it's a portal! Fucked!
So
It said there's something similar to that.
I hope
yes.
this dragon's
Shit.
related to Ron in some crazy way, because dragons are blood magic.
potentially
I hope so.
Oh, shit.
blood magic.
Your Ron is the offspring
Blood
of...
magic could
That would
cause
be
a shadow
cool.
dragon to appear.
Oh, fuck balls.
That would be cool.
Let's not do
What
that.
dragon type
So
is your
sorry,
Ron?
what kind of blood magic makes dragons into Rons?
Rons.
Some like blood rituals, the
Oh,
shadow
God.
dragons
Shadow dragons
that
come
kill
from blood
super
rituals.
powerful phase.
I wouldn't know where you'd find that.
It said that this was the spark of a civil war which lasted thousands of years between the Feywild, the Shadowfell, and the Elven capital, which I've written down here. Leaf en Gol.
Okay, hang on.
Hang on a second.
Sparked.
Sparked a civil war.
You never mentioned. You mentioned that they created the Fae, but was the Shadowfell already present before that?
Sparked a civil war between...
She simply opened a portal to it. Whether or not that is similar to the Fae that we have in Feywild now, which we can eventually go over across, or if its own entity, we don't know.
I'm just going to call it the
Because it's
Shadowfell,
very
just to
hostile
tease
there. Not many
Yeah,
people
I
have gone
know
there to
that's
explore
what
to
she-
see the outreaches.
you. A civil war
Feywild-
between
the Feywild, the Shadowfell, and the Elven capital.
Feywild, Shadowfell, and Elves.
And Elven capital, yeah?
And what's the war called?
They didn't have a. It didn't have a name.
Okay, so what was that
What
name
was the
then?
name that you just said?
Oh,
Yeah.
the Elf capital. Leaf,
Oh, that was the elf capital, right?
Leaf en Gol.
Which is this, yes?
Yes.
Leaf and... how do you spell it?
Leafendgol.
D...
I missed all of that.
Leaf and gull.
Yeah.
Like that.
Level.
Leaf and gull.
Okay, yeah, got that.
It said that the war happened between the dragon and some elves that wanted to explore the Shadowfell. Eventually, to make peace, the dragon married an elf.
Well, the dragons would win.
Oh.
And it is said that their descendants are the first drow.
Ah, nice. The war happened between the dragon and people who wanted to... and elves who wanted to explore Shadow,
Yes. I mean, the Fae didn't want anything to do with it.
How did the Dragonborn come to be then?
Because the hag opened it and she got squished.
No, the Dragonborn as the people. The people.
Oh, the
who are-
Dragonborn will come through rifts that happened after the war.
Oh yeah, they're not native.
They're not native to our plane.
So that's
Like
something
me.
else.
Mm.
And me.
Yeah.
You're not from here.
Fuck.
Technically, I was born here, but I'm not from here.
Oops.
The current leader of the Shadowfell is simply known as the Father of Monsters.
Hang on. The dragon married an elf, yeah?
Yeah, and made the first dragon.
The current leader of
Out of character, Drow still like obsessed with Lolth, even though.
They're a bit more civil, but they are very matriarchal and
Current
have
leader of the
slightly evil
Shadowfell
tendencies.
is
Yes.
who?
It is Lolth.
I
still
didn't
in
get that
society, though.
Sorry.
The goddess Lolth, you know, the thing that Drow.
The
whole Drow lore
the name has been passed, but no one's interacted with it.
The leader of the Shadowfell is who?
The Father of Monsters, which is said to be a descendant of the dragon.
Does he have a name for the Rusters?
No, that's just his title, the Father of Monsters.
Cool.
He has a half sister called
So metal.
He has a half sister called the Mother of Witches, which apparently is said to be a combination of Fae, the dragon, and elf descendants.
Fucking hell, she got around.
Well, her descendants got around.
Mother of who?
Witches.
It all spreads out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far you spread.
And then after the war,
I'll get to the corners, you know.
I just can't believe it's not butter.
like I said, the war
It's not a
lasted.
melted cheese ball. That got it.
You okay there, Ben?
I'm good.
Bringing it back to the camber.
I said the war lasted a couple of thousand years, after which they signed sort of like a peace treaty. And to that end, the Feywild, Shadowfell, and the Elves are somewhat peaceful, but there are still some hostilities.
There always is.
I guess I was kind of happy that I never sort of ran into his father or his descendants. There wasn't really much happening in the Shadowfell. Okay.
Yeah, the Shadowfell fell, for the most part, is said to be a desolate wasteland of just black, and the colour is very.
Is that you?
The colour is very hue-like. Colour,
Black and white.
colour
That
travels.
sounds
Yeah,
boring.
colour travels differently in the Shadowfell.
Tell me about it. I was born there and lived there for 17 years.
So was it like going from like black and white TV to colour TV for you, essentially? Hi Dorothy.
Oh, the world is Technicolor now.
Hi, Dorothy.
How does this work?
And there were sunglasses.
Okay, we're getting through this. Halflings.
Oh, yeah, that's you.
Well, I'm not the whole race.
Okay.
No pressure.
I'm human.
You're all human.
It is said that some of the Seekers left once they saw the first of the Elves.
Can you blame them?
Oh, yeah, anybody sees an elf, they want to leave.
Hang on, sorry, what was that? Halflings.
Yeah.
Halflings, then something about the Seekers.
It said that some of the Seekers left once they saw the first of the Elves.
Why?
Left
Have
where?
you met any elves?
Yeah, right. I didn't
I've
know
met
that
you
was
two. And lots of
True.
others.
That is not a good cross-section of elves.
They probably had to deal with elves for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Before the Elves, no one had really left the gods' side. And the fact that such an epic tale was unfolding in the south excited some of the Seekers.
Okay, cool.
It's not clear how halflings came into being, but it said that conflict between the Jesters and the rest of the other Seeker families made them wanting to leave easier.
So, what?
How did they leave?
What secret
They all-
family are these?
they-
half-
yeah,
not
exactly.
halflings
Where
connected
to?
Across the sands.
I don't know. The Elves went across the
Oh, yeah,
south.
shit.
Yes.
Yeah, but where to?
The Jest. What we do know is the Jester's name died out, and we got halflings out of it.
So they descend from the Jesters.
It's possible.
So conflict between the Jesters and other families essentially formed the halflings.
It said that they are correlated with each other.
Wow, I need to be way more careful around Kira.
Why?
Descendant of nut jobs.
Oh, well, yeah. Have you met halflings? I've met a few more than just Kira. Kira's like different. They're all a bit drinky, heavy drinky, lots of hair everywhere.
I'm going to rummage back into my pocket and offer you one of the herbal
I'll take that.
And also, normally they don't do normal
I'll
herbs
take it.
like that. They do weed.
Wow, yeah.
Just
that.
weed. None of the herbal shit. Just weed.
Yeah, do you
No
have
tobacco. Just weed.
And licking toads.
No, that's just her.
I thought that was all of them.
No, that's
No.
No.
Kira's like
out there?
weird.
What's it like?
What, licking toes?
You should join me in the woods.
Oh god.
Please
They'll
don't.
accept you.
What does that say?
Halflings are smaller than the average race, and it said they shrunk.
I hadn't known.
No shit. Fuck!
Smaller than
I couldn't put my finger on it.
Is this
There it
is this
is.
what your archive tells
It's
you?
off about me.
Fuck balls.
And it
No, I had
said
this crick in my neck. I'm listening and I just fucking realised why.
Holy
I'm gonna try and
fuck
kill
balls.
and if you let me
That's a very hairy child.
I'm going to cast 4 wounds.
Skipping over the Captain Obvious bit.
it said that the seekers shrank themselves due to their love of exploration.
But
And then
why
the-
would shrinking...
Because the
It's all
world's
you can see
bigger.
more.
Yeah, the world's
Better
bigger
for
when you're
exploration.
smaller.
I wanted to explain.
That just seems that you go further than a fucking wall.
Okay, just stop for a moment.
Viola at this point goes, I don't make the world work.
Look at this beautiful view. Let me shrink myself down. Oh fuck, I can't see it from behind this other person.
Oh shit, there's a tall person in front of me. Who put you in front? Show people in front.
The seniors shrank themselves to make the world seem bigger.
Imagine,
Totally let my short person read.
imagine hanging elf so much it went down to 1/3 the size.
It's thanks to the, oh god, I've gone too far now.
Oh, I'm worried.
Oh, it's thanks to the first of the halflings that we know so much of the world today. They were
So they were literal explorers.
yeah, they did maps, law, nature, they did it all essentially.
So they archived everything.
Yeah,
as well.
they
explored and archived the world's finding.
yeah,
Let's
They-
really get on with them, Viola.
they were quite recorders and seekers of new information.
Maybe that's why stories seem so much epic, because they have to go so much further. There's so much more to write about.
Yeah, I took 5 steps. There's 3 for any normal person.
It's more like two.
And there it was.
One small step for halfling.
One shuffle.
One shuffle for elven kind.
One stumble for every other fucker.
Which is yourselves at this point.
Do you think if the main characters in Lord of the Rings had been a human, the book would have been one book?
Yes. Tolkien, we just ripped you to shit. Good night. I love Tolkien too, so that hurts
Oh,
me
yeah,
lots. I
same.
love it.
That's a good read.
I quite like that.
They never truly had a home, however,
Oh.
and by the time they wanted such a thing, the other races had evolved and claimed the lands essentially.
I probably got there sooner.
You're gonna fucking
Are we? Is this just going to be a running thing now?
I'm trying
You see it over there? Oh look, it's a mountain. Wait, what are you doing?
Fuck, there's someone else!
This is literally how I
There's
see
a dwarf!
No, this is literally
I
how I
will be
see
the first
fucking
one to
dwarf.
investigate this. No, wait. Oh.
Wait, there's a dwarf overtaking me! Shit! I'm only a fucking
So eventually
So
they
basically,
tamed dragons
the
and
tall
took over.
The tall people found everything and put you have to be this high to enter. That's why the halflings got no time.
Oh, we'll go somewhere else now.
Just to reinforce racial stereotypes.
Long story
Didn't take a single piss on
Anyway,
the
hey,
owl.
quick question. In Finlandia, you know there's
We already hated
you
them.
know there's an amusement park.
Yes.
Yeah. And no. Here's the real question: is there a different height bar for halflings than there is for the other races?
No, it's based off age.
Oh, and I might lie about my age. What? Shut up.
I'm sure they've got some
There's
technology.
divination magic in this,
some
in this
scanner.
world, mate. Let's see through that.
No, they cut you in half and count the rings.
Ow!
Um,
I'm not getting that.
so long
back.
story short, halflings are nomadic and they
Short
they
story
live
long.
wherever they want, basically.
Very cool. I like that. one.
However, in recent years, they've moved towards penny farthing to try and find their own continent.
Well, penny is the smallest of the coins.
They can see more of it.
It's like a pound to them.
Can I fucking write this?
Yeah, I can't help but see it as actual law.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Hang on, I'm writing stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Farthing
Yes.
to discover other continents.
Farthing, far thing.
Do they know changing the pound man? Once they get there.
To discover other.
It's a very
continents.
small far thing. Basically, what penny
They no, what they're going to do is they're going to discover that there's a new race that's already got in there first.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Because they went the other way around.
Okay.
If we're saying this in character, Kira must be so offended right now.
Yeah.
No, it's not Kira.
She just says looking at her. She
Even
doesn't care.
Kira loves this. Like
Let's
Kira's in love with this.
Let's be honest, Viola's the one who's for the last 10 minutes has been going, small people shrank.
Again, run out of height juice.
And I'm just taller than her in character as well, and I'm a fucking gnome.
So on to the dwarves.
Ooh, the dwarves.
Hang on
Hang
a
on,
second.
let me take a drink.
Let me turn over the page. Dwarves!
Slight step.
They shrank too.
Only not as.
How come they got a bit more height than halflings? So they start to regain the height juice.
So they put them straight into the top.
Oh, God,
They just,
I'm just
they took the height difference.
I'm just going to read what's written here from now on.
They would just either
Okay, so
soil
dwarves.
the
Yes.
Yeah.
It said that some of the seekers seeing the elves and the halflings leave and change into a different race got jealous. Though the races were weaker than the seekers' base form, a new outlook on life after living so long became an ideal thing for them.
Okay.
Other seekers got jealous.
Yes.
Hang on a second. And wanted other life forms.
Yes. That's when the first dog appeared. No.
Dog.
No. And then they ate it. To confirm, dwarves are now Asian.
You want to buy some dog? You want dog for lunch?
I think it's made in China.
You want dog for lunch? I make you dog for lunch. You want crispy dog?
Oh, you buy 2 dogs, you get 1 cat free.
Sweet and sour dog leg.
Goodbye, Asian viewers.
Oh. buy 2 Labrador, get 1 Chihuahua free.
That one is
So
cute.
my note here is other seekers got jealous of halflings and wanted other life forms. That's dwarves.
Are Asian. No, it's not.
Brackets are Asian. Okay, I've got to imagine every dwarf now with an Asian accent instead of the Scottish one.
Oh, no.
They're too small, they're too tall. It's been in the middle.
Yeah. Stocky. How?
What induced the dwarves to grow beards?
Well, I don't know about that.
No. Because here's the other part. We've heard Harold all this time because he's half dwarf.
Yeah, he is.
We've heard him with a thick accent. He's actually putting that on because he's got an Asian accent.
Oh my.
Canon, write it down. They're Asian.
The Smithy
Write it
family,
down. Write it down.
learning as much from Origin as they could, left for the north.
Hang on a second, the Smithy family.
So,
King in the north.
not chucking in racial stereotypes, but
The-
the inventors and techie kind of...
What's your plan to put one and one together then?
Is it
well-
Samsung Smithy and Sony Smithy?
Yeah. What? Microsoft Smithy.
And Kodak.
Yeah.
It's made by a white man.
Microsoft isn't.
What they found was difficult terrain to live on,
You know.
but a lot of metals and minerals to exploit. It is said the first dwarf was born when a rock landed on a seeker's head and he was slightly squashed.
Okay, just stop at the Hard to live terrain.
He's trying to think of how that goes through the gene pool.
So-
It hits so hard in the head, and the gene pool's changed.
Not worth asking. We didn't save the head.
Well, at least that's why they're shorter.
You just shrunk.
You just want to see the world bigger and better.
There is a your mama joke in there somewhere.
Is that why men and female daughters are so similar? It's like an XV chromosome. Half of an X. And
So hang on, the first dwarf was born when a seeker got hit on the head by a rock.
I got slightly squished.
Okay.
That's what Viola says.
Are you sure your sources are correct?
These are all questionable, yes. I said we're still trying to learn this. Oh, well, where's my cigarette?
Who do you have trying to learn this?
I
Well, that's
think...
it. Next door, if I say it, I'm going to throw a rock at.
Oh, let's be
You
honest.
see the halfling.
Most of your previous acquaintances didn't do so good.
Yeah, they
so
all
it
died.
Probably your best bet.
Yes.
So any information they did bring you is probably a bit suspect.
Oh no, I made sure that they took
Oh, here's one for your archive. Staircases are fucking deadly.
It's too big.
I know, I
got
watched.
this one.
No.
And did you enjoy?
Oh goodness.
Yes.
Kira's gonna start stepping back.
This is probably not... The rock thing is probably not true. It may have been that they just wanted to be closer to the ground. Evolution is strange, is what Viola
They're
says.
still taller than the halflings.
Yeah.
That's not correct.
They wanted to be superior to the other short race in one way.
What is clear is that they became far more prideful and they honour names.
What's the humans? They cut off the pointy part in there. That's what they're there.
We haven't got to the humans yet.
The Smithy family and its branch houses are deemed the highest
More
on the
prideful.
food chain, should we say? They're the kingpins.
They were first hit by rocks.
Yes.
And honoured names.
How do you spell Smithy?
SMITHY.
Yeah.
What's the last part about the family?
No,
Hmm?
that doesn't seem right. There must
What's
be
the
a
last part about the family?
silent, like.
They honour names.
No.
Yeah, after that bit.
You know, something
The Smithy family and its branch houses are deemed the highest
Highest.
on the food chain.
Guitar.
It's like the Lichpins.
guitar.
Like the Smithy family are the king, basically kingmakers and all that stuff.
They're like the old sort of,
Yes.
the old like starters, and they've kept on this whole way. And went apart from the gods technically.
It has also been said that there have been a number of wars between the dwarves and things that live underground.
Like,
However, not a lot of evidence is to support this and is considered a wise tale to make dwarves feel better about themselves.
Is that where we start raising the questions?
don't make them feel better for themselves. Wow. So they've got short man syndrome.
Yes.
Right.
And dwarves have a hard life.
It's a hard rock.
They don't have dreadlocks.
By the way, everybody, Smithy in Japanese is Kajia.
Can we not make this canon?
What about
That's
Chinese?
what happens when you bring in
What
the
about
PCs
Chinese?
for the lore dump.
What about Chinese?
Expect them to challenge it and break it.
You can
That's
spell
what we do
Chinese
best.
if you'd like.
Yeah, Asian, just overall Asian. That means Vietnamese, Korean.
Okay, the humans.
Oh, okay, moving on.
But moving swiftly on from the doors because he doesn't like the fact that we're telling them Asian.
He loves it though.
No, I want them to be Scottish. The
Uh,
last.
They're not
Holy
Asian though.
shit!
Go on. Oh, this will be fun.
Can we not?
Duan Yijiang de Gonjuju.
Definitely that one. Definitely
What
that
does that
one.
mean?
Smithy. Also, interesting, if you Smithy Chinese, it comes up with the Gavin and Stacey Chinese order.
Fuck. Brilliant.
Sponsorship, I suppose.
Sorry, I'll stop.
Fantastic.
Oh, wait, Korea.
Okay.
Okay, so how are we going to rank the humans?
The last of the
No
Seekers
answer.
stayed with their gods, and over time they became very dependent on them.
State of gods.
Whether this is seen as a blessing or a curse is not known. Eventually humans overtook the land, essentially.
They bred and
Yeah.
multiplied.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like big and fluffy
So
rabbit.
everything in this world is a descendant of an elf,
No, a Seeker.
a seeker.
Yeah.
Right.
They are far shorter lived, but breed fucking quickly.
They're rabbits.
Yes.
So
Great big
the
front
Aether
teeth.
family
Hey, rabbits of the
started it
intelligence.
all by having yelled, and then the jesters were like, "Nah, I want to be short." So then half of it happened, and then the dwarves have like, "I'm jealous of the other ones. I'm gonna be dwarf."
And the Smithies were like, oh fuck, that rock hit me on the head.
Yeah, they were like, let's just be ever so slightly taller than the halflings so we can rip the piss.
And develop a funny accent that's called Asian.
As the Family Guy sketch goes, hey, can you reach that? Yes, I can. We all know the sketch.
I do.
There you
They
go.
are the most
So dwarf
they are
and
the most
half
flexible of
midgets.
races as well. They are far more rounded but lack the strength of the others.
Okay.
Sorry, dwarves are rounded?
No, that, we're
No,
on
the
hu-
humans.
we're on
are-
humans
Oh.
now.
Hang on, most flexible of bases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're rounded.
And well rounded.
Yeah. The last of the Seekers, which didn't evolve, was soon overtaken by the humans, and they slowly were taken somewhere else.
It's alright because the Seekers
So,
are already overtaken.
Atheris is Seekers, Elves, Halals, Halflings, I guess Muradins, Dwarves,
Yeah, and then
and
Trom,
then
Trom's
Backup,
humans.
and yeah.
Backup's
And
kind of
Jugel,
died out.
They stayed devout to them.
Yeah.
The rest of the
Became
Seekers just
humans.
disappeared, you said.
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
about? What's this about? The goods?
It said that Trom was enraged and amused by the outcome.
Of the humans.
Yes.
Do we think that the humans had something to do with the disappearance of the Seekers?
Well, they're the most cunty of all races, so maybe.
Backup was disappointed by the humans.
I thought all
No,
these
Trom
races
is
had
said to be
guns.
enraged and amused by the outcome.
Backup wouldn't care.
No, Backup is the god of indifference as well.
Wait,
Like elves.
so on a
humans, dwarves,
scale of
halflings.
elf to human, you're saying humans fall on the more cuntish end of that scale?
Yes.
Even though they're the end of
Fuck
the
off.
Yeah,
races.
they're not related to halal.
Do you not
in
see
any
the
way.
problem with that?
Halflings descend from halal.
Maybe because he's gay, he's not
Humans
clocking
are
it.
What?
No, humans were the most cuntish to the Seekers
Oh no, that's fair.
because they viewed the Seekers as cuntish like elves.
I get
It's
that
just
point
the,
of
it's
view.
just the circle of cunts.
I'm sure.
Circle of cunts.
It doesn't have a nice ring to it.
It works. Get on to Disney.
Hi Disney. Hi Disney, have I got a song for you?
You know Circle of Life? Elton John will love it. The Circle!
I don't think
He probably...
does.
not the thing itself, but the song. Fuck off.
Just have that one from Frozen sing it, it'll be great. Let it go.
Idina Menzel.
Let it go.
I'm trying
Let
to make
it
it
go.
work now, hang on.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
where's my writing and shit?
I'm trying to make it work, I can't. I can't make
That's
it
a
work
shadow,
quick, I'll
please.
win.
Can't make it work.
Wow.
That's the shadow caster. Oh, no, I am
I
alright.
can't make Alan work on a win, bugger.
Okay. So the continent.
Seriously, it's easy.
Go on then.
The continent.
The continent. The continent.
Hey!
She's in my head now. One track mind.
So we're on to continent law
Yeah,
now.
the continent is the dwarves in the north with in the mountains.
Hang on.
Hang on. Dwarves north.
Yeah, in the mountains.
Hang on. Dwarves north.
Elf south, I presume.
Yeah, out south.
Hang on. Mountains.
Halflings a bit everywhere.
And other dwarves ruled by a short despot.
Elves south.
The North Core.
Past the Boyden Bridge.
Over bridge.
Mm.
Oh,
And then the
that's
humans are in
what
the middle.
internet. North Korea's gonna know.
Bridge is sandwich filling. No, not bridge is sandwich filling. Humans are sandwich filling.
So I'm
Yeah.
I'm still on dwarves, sorry.
Oh, for fuck's sake. No, they're Asian, that's it. Good job, well done. 10 out of 10.
No, not that bit, but
Incentive.
okay, thanks. No, the continent bit.
So, that's
Mountains north.
Yeah.
So,
Dwarves,
so
mountains,
back north,
Yes.
elves in the south.
three of the Seekers families.
Don't
decided
focus on the Seekers too much. They bred with each
There's
other.
3 human capitals, and 3 of the humans, of the Seeker families, sort of adapted to humans.
Yes.
Got a point.
They bred. That's all they did.
So,
I
so,
like
so
that.
dwarves
Was it
north
tiny
mountains, elves south over the bridge, humans filling in the centre, halflings nomads slightly west.
Where did you get slightly west from?
Because they're gravitating
Penny
towards
farthing.
penny farthing.
Yes.
So slightly west, because they're not all there yet.
Okay, good.
Nomadic / slightly west. Okay, so elves south over the bridge, yes?
Yeah. The whole continent.
Humans are the filling in the centre.
Okay, this is now where I'm going to
Yeah.
pronounce stuff. The whole continent itself is called Rock E Name E Eads.
What?
Spell that letter by letter.
R
There's
Oh.
Rocky Mead.
Are they?
C K
CK.
E N.
N for Nathan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A M.
A-M.
M for mother.
Yeah. E I
I.
A
A.
E D.
What?
Rocky
Rocky
Mead.
Mead.
Just smashed the shit out of a keyboard for that.
It's actually an anagram, and I tried to make it as wordy as possible, but it didn't work. Rocky name e ends. Rocky name e ends.
Rocky name Ed.
Rocky name e ends.
What's it in the anagram?
Rocky anime.
Is it one word or two in the anagram?
That's what I'm saying.
It's all one word.
No, the anagram. What it's an anagram of.
I forgot.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Is, okay, if
Okay, then I'm
anyone,
going to Google this. I'm going to see what it comes up with.
okay, if anyone is listening and he's not going to tell me, please write to us somehow and tell us what that says as an anagram.
Okay.
Well,
It'll be entertaining.
No, it's actually part of the plot from what I recall. Cause I can,
Okay.
I can work out half of it.
If that's the case, don't tell us yet. We'll have to
Okay.
figure it out ourselves.
Um,
Shitballs.
the whole continent is called that.
It's called Rockinemiad.
Yes, but it's usually when people mention it in conversation, it usually references the human middle bit.
Ah.
What? and just that just flew over.
Yeah. It's I can't say. I'm not going to say it again.
When talked about in conversation, it normally refers to just the humans part.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 seconds while I write it down.
Okay. What rockin' that name?
No, I've written that down.
Oh no, I got that.
No, that's an anagram that really triggers me.
So as you know, the human continent is in the middle of a cold war.
Yeah.
It's between 3 capitals run by human races, and they have been in a constant state of quiet here for the last 250 years.
Human heart.
Okay.
I assume everyone knows this.
Still worth writing it down.
Yeah, worth
I already
writing
know this,
down.
and I'm just really writing it down.
Because apparently
Yeah.
some random name or some random necromancer may just be worthwhile noting.
Yeah, to be
That's
honest,
it
I've
in
been
passing.
writing a lot of stuff which I've already known, just because it's the dump.
Okay. Human power,
Cold-
civil
Cold
war
War.
for 250
This has
years.
lasted longer than I thought it was.
Human
I thought
Cold
we
War
finished by now.
between
Well, we have been interrupting you a lot.
religious
Yes.
capital.
Yes.
Making
PCs.
dwarves Asian and halflings
No.
have some
You
sort of...
made the dwarves Asian to begin with.
Ooh.
We just ran.
I just
Sorry.
said they
Bless
eat
you.
dogs, alright?
Religious
That
capital.
made them Asian. Wow, you racist fuck.
Royal capital.
I didn't even mention anything about Royal Capital yet.
Well, you said they're in Cold
The
Cold
3
War
capitals,
between
yes.
religious capital, royal capital, and
The Grey Capital.
grey
The what?
capital.
Where's the
Spin
grey?
Master.
Oh, okay.
Did not know that.
There we go. That's what I wanted. Was just a.
So human part Cold War for 250 years with the 3 capitals.
Yeah. It said after the war, which no one remembers, a new royal family was appointed, to which the gods disagreed with.
Hang on. After war.
Surely
You-
the gods would know what happened then, because no way someone could erase their memory.
Actually, yes, their memories were erased.
Ooh, bitchin'.
New monarchy.
Even the ones that were trapped.
All of them.
After the war.
They have some partial memory. Like, obviously, they talk about the black tentacle monster and stuff like that. But intricacies of what happened in the war, they don't really know.
So the royal capital elected a new king.
No, just the king suddenly appeared.
The current king.
The current king.
The
Suddenly appeared.
man,
Yes.
the man shrouding in shadow.
We can assume that he made himself king through war.
He usurped the queen.
We can assume.
Can you give elaboration on suddenly from your studies?
So the chain of events was that this tentacle
wasn't a
monster,
king?
yeah, this tentacle monster appeared out of nowhere with a man controlling it. This tentacle monster fought the 6 gods. Somehow there was altercations. Aetherius was damaged, and Halal disappeared somewhere. And then the queen somehow died, and then there was a new king. The end.
Why do we keep skipping over this whole testicle monster thing?
Testicle monster.
Tentacle, you
Tentacle.
fanny.
Why? Yeah. There was just a random tentacle monster
There you
Yes.
go.
popped up.
Yeah.
No one remembers, that's why.
No one.
So it just popped up like a herniated testicle.
For fuck's sake.
Oh my god.
Fuck's sakes.
Oh my god.
The royal family
Sorry,
before was known to be supported by the gods. How and why has been lost as well.
Better
The
man.
gods didn't like this
Bet
king,
the
right?
man
They don't
controlling
like him, no.
Mr. Tentacle was probably the new king.
Before the war.
They're hostile to him, but haven't murdered him yet for some reason.
The only people that can is the Therios and Halal. You said they can't.
And Halal's damaged, so Halal's technically the only one that could just be by everyone and just kill them all.
So before the war, the gods liked the royal.
Yeah, they like the queen.
royalty.
Yeah.
They agreed with the.
So where is this tentacle monster now?
Nobody knows.
Of course nobody knows.
The dwarves will delve too deep soon, and they'll wake something
to
up.
greedily. Yeah.
And then I don't know, a grey wizard or something might come along and steal all the XP.
I mean, you're basically writing the story for me.
Fuck it's him!
PCs can be great for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
You're currently just writing the story for me. Thanks.
Sorry.
No.
No, it's helpful.
Just later there'll be a tentacle monster underneath the door of Captain.
Yay!
Not going north anymore. Before the war, the gods.
That's why you mentioned. I think I'm right. You mentioned before that there are some seekers north, but obviously the Smithy family is
Yeah.
technically
Still the
Seekers.
seekers. Yeah.
Well, no, they're technically dwarves now, but they've still got the name.
Yeah, they've got the blood.
Yeah.
The blood is still
Yeah.
there if you dig deep
Yeah.
enough in the DNA and stuff. The gods are like,
Not Smithy anymore. Daishan Gun.
Oh, fucking god.
what was that one?
That's Korean.
I missed that one. What?
Vai
the
Jangan.
Daijangan.
Oh, what one's that?
That's Smithy.
No, for which language?
I don't know.
Korean.
Korean, South or North?
They have separate
I'm
languages.
sure they do.
Imagine
No,
a
like, I don't think
dialect.
they do.
I bet they.
I
do.
just-
Maybe just
oh yeah, it's
Korea.
Korean.
I just think they just
You
don't
gotta
like
be
each
Korean,
other.
mate.
Because the north one has more poverty in it. Just they speak with more poverty.
Okay, so royal capital.
Oh right, yeah.
Here we go. The name of the royal capital is.
Hang on.
Ta-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh god, here we go again. Here's another anagram.
Oh god.
This one's a bit more pronounceable, but I just need to work it in my
Royal
head.
capital.
Say it by letters.
Yeah.
V
Okay.
Hang on a second. Royal
N.
capital. V.
V M
N
November.
The N.
V N.
More pronounceable.
Is it a silent N or a silent V?
E.
I'm very excited
Echo.
about this.
Yeah. U T.
Uniform
Venute.
Tango.
Newt, yeah.
Space.
Yeah. Do I write
U.
that?
You.
Uniform. Romeo.
O.
Oscar.
W.
Whiskey.
S.
Yeah.
The Newt Euros.
I found it,
Newt
and I've written
Euros.
it as in phonetical. Venutoros.
Newt Euros.
Venutoros.
Oh, Venute.
There could have been a better way to spell that, I'm sure.
No, that's another anagram.
No.
Don't ask me what it is. I've
Fuck's
forgotten.
sake.
I think
Why?
I've gotten part of the first one.
Go on then.
I don't think I want to say it.
Okay, fair enough. Where?
Top.
Ah!
What does it say?
So far I've got an America and then either knocked or donk. Well, the last you can get to America fairly easily. You just can't get. I just don't know what Nokend is.
Nonked.
Nokend. Those are the last letters left after.
Well,
America.
you just spoiled half of the plot. Well done. Thank you.
Fine, it's out of character, that is. Don't say things that are anagrams.
The King's Donald
Yeah, I
Trump.
will start looking for stuff if
Yeah.
things are anagrams. That's my problem. I like.
The King's Donald Trump.
Right, I'm just gonna read. I'm just
And
gonna
the big
read.
tentacle monster was an oil monster.
I'm just
fine.
gonna
No,
read
no, no,
this
it's
super
just
quickly.
his many wings.
So yeah, Royal Capital.
I'm just gonna read this super quickly because all of this is on the Discord.
And he doesn't want us to
essentially.
break it.
Yeah, you put the three capitals on the
Nephew.
Discord, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
So I'm just gonna read this for word.
Cool.
But this is all on the Discord, so you don't have to write this down.
Royal capital. Okay, on Discord.
Currently ruled by a monarch simply called the King. The city is mostly magical and scientifically advanced. No, the city is the most magical and scientifically advanced of the city of the humans. As well as the native humans, talented elves and dwarves are invited to come learn, explore, and experiment. Because of the nature of the city, knowledge above all else, Those people with high skill and intelligence have favourable treatment, resulting in an upper class and lower class, with very little people being in the middle. Outworlders, or people from the rifts, are also treated unfairly and less highly skilled, resulting in some racial tension. And then this is the look of the city. A large bustling city with an Edwardian aesthetic. People walk around in suits and with canes and elegant dresses.
Yeah, I literally remember that. But
Appearances are very important to the city. The people, buildings and streets are immaculate. People commute to work on electric trams similar to those in America in the 1930s. Magic is abundant too, powering almost everything. The lower class keep the city running, while the upper class work in offices doing paperwork, magic and technological experiments, all buying and selling. The city is focused on business and must run like a cog in a large machine. And that's the royal capital in a nutshell, essentially. And then you go into the politics side of things, which I believe is also on Discord. So you have
Anyone on Discord? Anyone on Discord?
yeah, everyone's on the Discord.
Oh,
Except for Beth. From what I recall, you're not on the Discord, are you? No. Anyway, at the top of the royal capital, you've got the king,
Yeah.
which is his title.
Again on the Discord, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Then just below him, you've got two people, a Venier and the butler.
Yeah.
The butler runs sort of like the day-to-day things for the king. Is like schedule what he does, like what experiment, like gives him the news and information of what's happening. Venier runs more the political side of things, so like the intricacies of the city, so the laws and the running and stuff like that.
And she brought Viola.
So she's essentially the prime minister.
And she brought Viola up, didn't she?
Yes, she brought a Viola and her mother Lesha,
Pandora.
and Pandora to a certain extent. She's
And the other, I can't remember what you called them. Like 4 people who were like called something.
they're just a group of people who are super
Rock
talented.
name me, yeah, you did.
So then we've got the religious capital, Grandoza. Except for some reason, when I phonetically wrote it down, it's written
Garos Denza.
Z, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that an anagram?
Shut up. Fuck off.
Once the gods resided during the evolution of the world. Dedicated to the gods, the humans live here, live a simple life and worship every day. The gods would often talk to people here, passing on knowledge and gifts. However, the gods have been quiet since the war, and there is tension in the air. They are very selfless, often helping those in need, meaning there aren't many rich here, but no one goes hungry. They also help outer worlder refugees, giving them a month of support to help them on their way. Because of this, the city is very racially diverse. And then this is the look of the city. A large city filled with white tall buildings with hues of silver, gold and crystal. Built on a large island, the water falling off the sides of the island making waterfalls.
No wonder no one can afford to eat in the silver and gold trimmings on the buildings.
Nobody's hungry. It's just they're not rich
they're poor.
either. The streets are cobbled with worshippers coming and going. The city is divided into 6 large streets on the top half, each with a church at the end, representing a god each. There is a 7th church where the 6 meet, where much of the city is run. The southwest of the city has the Hunters Guild and taverns for adventurers. Also to the south of the city is the city's forest and garden, which is kept by the city and its people. Finally, below the city, and isn't accessible normally, is a small rose garden kept by Zero's avatar. Rose's Attendant Rise is the official title.
Interesting.
It is said that Zero and the Queen would often come here to talk among the roses.
Roses? Well, they're glass roses.
No.
It's a running theme. Oh, plants, so lovely.
Roses.
Interesting.
Good shout, yeah, nice.
And then we've got the Grey Capital, which has been Razda.
Oh.
After the war 250 years ago, the new king was appointed. It wasn't just the gods that disagreed. Some of the major noble families strongly opposed the king, claiming they had more right to rule in the absence of the last queen. The three families decided to leave the royal capital in search of independence, and over time settled between the royal capital and church capital. The three families, led by the leader, the Blackham family, exploited the tensions and forced the other two capitals into trading through them. Over time, the city evolved into what it is today, expanding upwards and onwards into the sky. And then this is the description. A city built on trade and technology, it grows upwards on discs which have extended and have been built upon over time. The exterior is a jumble of cogs and steam pistons, sheets of metal and pipes.
You might want to edit that to add a meteor.
Like, this is but this is like the opening. And a meteor. This is due to the unplanned nature of how much the city would expand and continues to expand. The city is made up of 5 discs, each with a different role or purpose. The interior is also lined with steampunk aesthetic, with the exception of the 4th and 5th discs. The highest disc, disc 5, cannot be seen from the outside of the city, as the city is so tall, but some claim to it be a small disc, which is essentially a paradise for the 3 families exclusively.
We haven't even got access up there yet.
No.
No.
And then you know the name of the 3 families, and that is the lore dump essentially.
Yeah.
We are there.
Wow.
There we go. So we are all caught up.
You are all caught up on the basics of the
Yeah.
world.
Okay.
That's got nothing to do with the plot, is you
No.
the characters
Yeah.
so far.
Wow.
Okay, there
Now
we
we're
go.
catching up on that.
Ah,
Wow.
What a wonderful story, Viola. I'm sorry we tore it to
Pissed
shreds.
all over it.
thank you. I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, there were a few areas
Don't read
that
that
had
sheet of
some
paper.
shortcomings.
Dwarves are Asian.
Dwarves are Asian.
What are Asians? Viola asks.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
You know a lot about Earth culture. Tell us.
What is this earth that you speak of?
Never heard of dirty
Yeah.
art.
Uh,
What art is this?
oh, I need that as well.
Are we still on more?
No, you're all currently in the embassy, and Viola has just ranted at you for 2 hours, basically.
Tidying.
Okay, and
She
that.
does that normally anyway, doesn't she?
Well, not for 2 hours.
Oh right, yeah, no.
It's
right.
normally like 20 minutes, half an hour.
That was the longest Viola rant we've ever
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
Viola's going to need something
I'm
strong.
surprised you
after
didn't shut us up after we started taking the mick out of it. You have the ability to, I'm sure you do.
Oh, she found it funny. Like Derek in the morning.
But seriously, that thing about the dwarves, I don't believe a bit about it.
What?
The rock falling in
The rock, yes.
So Dwayne the Rock Johnson
Oh,
fall on someone's head.
So
The people's rock.
Oh right.
The people's rock.
He is the people's rock.
he landed on top of an Asian and suddenly the dwarves.
Believable. They're stocky and short.
okay, so here we go.
There's logic there.
There we
You
go.
fucking love it.
Right, so Viola says, well, if we're all done
Where the
here,
heck am
me and Kira need to go to a meeting.
Where did who? Sorry.
More talking?
More talking.
No!
I don't know. Oh yeah, your meeting.
Suppose
Going for
it
a
is
walk.
very important.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
And she says, I've been invited as a sort of representative of the group, and you're the
Why are
person.
you representing us?
It was basically.
She's the one who employs us!
No, I'm on about Viola.
Because I have the most information and I'm the most intelligent.
Doesn't mean that we can't represent ourselves. You haven't invited
We are the time delvers, and who employs you? Me.
Can we all get matching tabards?
I don't want to.
It's not that sort of meeting, dear.
Oh, but then it would be fun.
I don't want no tabard.
For some reason, when you said that, I thought of the KKK.
Whoa!
I think you went there. Don't blame me if you get another strike on your channel.
I will very definitely not be saying this within Viola's hearing, but if she's so intelligent, why did she marry Harold?
Ooh, there's a reason. Fuck no. Yeah, why did you marry Harold?
out of character. He has money.
Money.
He has money.
So he's not like good
Oh my
company.
I ain't saying she is
No,
gold digger.
She enacted my
Is
life
she-
plan.
must have
You
been a gold-
marry a rich man.
He has money.
Or woman. Yeah.
He has
Marry
money.
someone
He
rich.
takes orders very well.
Hello, Richard.
And
Any man would.
and he's a good lay.
Any man would at that point, right? Oh, well, yeah, alright, I'll take orders, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Just sit on my face. What?
I mean,
Did
I
say
could,
that
I
out
could, I could allow you all to come to the meeting, but I know the way things are. You just fuck it up, basically.
Life would be fine if we...
Yes.
So, but like, while this meeting's happening, you've gone to see Mama Naga.
I already know.
No, but you were doing that while we're having the meeting. We said.
Oh, yeah.
So your character's not standing around doing anything. Yeah.
Really,
I'm looking
You
for
would
some
do-
elf concentration camps.
Roll perception.
I'm gonna get these 20 now. I rolled really bad last time. That's why.
And where are you specifically looking?
in the concentration camp. Duh.
on the outskirts.
So in the forested area.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you're specifically looking for some sort of slavery thing
Yep.
in the forested area.
Well,
Elves tend not to do slavery stuff.
that's heavy.
Except under extenuating
That's a natural one.
Fucking shit balls.
There are some lovely trees.
I mean,
They might be
That's a
trees. They're tall.
nice
I mean, you see a lot of
spent £9 on you.
you
Obviously, you
see
didn't spend enough.
you see a lot of pretentious people.
Oh,
Whether or not that's a concentration camp, you don't know.
I vomit in my mouth.
As do I every time I meet another elf.
Except for Mama Naga.
Oh, she's lovely. As are her wards.
Plot twist, Molly's an elf.
I thought plot twist she was like a hag or something. Didn't we agree on?
No?
No.
Plot twist, your memory was wiped and she's your child.
What was that?
That would be good.
Did you not hear?
No, I heard the fart.
That was just poor timing. Oh, good. Which way you look at it?
So plot twist. Her memory's been wiped and Molly's her child.
Oh,
No,
that's just
please
terrible.
don't do that. I'd feel well guilty when I murder her.
You still do it though.
As you're looking into the right by choking her. They're my eyes.
Plot twist, Molly's her kid. Memory wipe.
Right. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
plot twist. Molly is her before the reincarnation.
Should we stop putting ideas in Stu's head now?
Okay. So
Oh shit, he was writing
You
that down.
delved too far into the time.
Writing something down.
Now you're looking really
Shit, they're on
so
the
what
move.
I've written
Quick,
down so
move
far
on.
is towards Asian tentacle monster somewhere north.
Shit.
Molly is Thai.
Ooh, bitch.
You went too far.
You went too far.
too far into the time,
Yeah.
and you came back as yourself.
Yeah. So you're actually. When you say she's
You
a
hate
bitch, she
yourself.
really is a bitch because she's you.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair
The
enough.
only person that can truly defeat Tai is herself.
I'm going to do the maths on this and it sounded pretty solid.
Fair enough.
I run the numbers. They all add up.
Yeah.
I said, what do the numbers mean? It means I'm on myself.
And do you think these onion badges are still okay to eat?
Yeah,
They probably
I
are, but they're
think
super
so.
cold. But they're all squishy.
Oh yeah, that really figures.
Are you actually doing math?
It's a pretty simple one.
Don't mind me. Oh, what's this? Oh, we're not. We are not.
Oh no, the party is attacked by mint yogurt.
We are not. We are not supported by any of this food. But if you do want to support us, that'd be great.
Yeah, Chinese food would be great.
Yeah.
Only for a dwarf.
Or Indian. Or Indian. Or Indian. There's a short order.
So what,
as well.
what race is the Indians?
We haven't found them yet. The halflings are going to go across continent.
The halflings are actually Americans.
No.
Oh.
No.
The Americans are the future. They go over and kill all the Indians.
Oh.
The Americans are Brits.
They kill all the Indians by stabbing them in their ankles really hard.
Probably not.
I'm glad Kira left her nomadic family.
Yeah, you didn't get stabbed in the
That's
ankles.
No, she does the stabbing.
Oh, right.
She's
Sorry,
short.
yeah,
yes.
you do, yeah. Oh.
Surely they could reach their knees.
They have low expectations to the ground.
Oh god.
Okay, Viola starts grabbing you by the scruff and dragging you out to the embassy.
Wow.
Wow.
That is really not necessary. I'm gonna start
Railroad.
throwing cigarettes.
How does Ron feel about this?
Oh no.
Good question.
I'm bringing the dragon into this.
I did want to bring Ron.
You did want to bring Ron.
Yeah.
He is.
On his
We'll have to wait and see you bringing him with you. We'll see what happens.
Uh-oh.
So as I've described him
He's from
before,
Blood Ritual. Shadow Dragon's going to appear as Ron and kill everyone.
basically, where Aetherius resides is this huge sort of like, I want to say plant wall. It's a tree wall, and
An arboretum.
it's like in a circular shape, and only those that have been given an invitation or a maiden or a divine of nature are only allowed to go through.
I have this leaf.
Don't forget your bacon.
Maybe on my natural one perception, I just randomly just walk into it thinking I'm going in the right area.
And then you find your dead parents and you become Batman.
Have you guys ever heard
Oh,
that great?
But you sparkle.
Have you guys ever heard that great DM thing? Someone rolled like a
And
really
kawaii
high perception
Batman.
roll, and
No,
you know
it's
the
a
DM
wrong
was saying,
fantasy.
"Oh, suddenly your party and yourself look like fake like materials of sorts, and you stretch further around and you see these giants with pieces of paper and pencils for a split second, and then everything goes back to normal." And I like it.
We break the fourth wall too much in this campaign.
What's the wall?
I don't know. Anyway,
It's just a fourth at this point.
yeah, all that's left now is the glass ceiling.
What glass ceiling? I think we smashed through that.
Did we? I don't know. Some people say we haven't. Let's not discuss that. let's not go there.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So you're going to this tree wall. Viola sort of like leads the way, and all she does is just step towards this wall.
Am I still being dragged?
And no.
Nice.
And nice. You have an autonomy, yes. As she goes through this wall, where you'd expect it to sort of like bang into the wall like parts suddenly, and she just walks through.
Cool.
And
I sort of stand there watching the wall.
oh, you come with us.
No, because Wick's doing other stuff.
Okay. Do you follow?
Yeah, I'll just run through it.
Okay. Where's Ron when you do this?
I would like to think that he would have been following me, like behind. I would like.
How
to
far behind are we talking?
I'm no more than 5 to 10 feet.
Are you saying 5 or 10?
5. Wait.
I'm just saying.
Okay,
no,
if
I'm
we're
not-
running through a wall, I'll pick Ron up and run through the wall with him.
Okay, in which case you're fine and he comes through with you.
Yeah.
Because if it was 10 feet, he probably would have got squashed by trees.
Wow. Wow.
We would have got you a new blood ritual.
Then Akira would have been safe if she saw
We've had her
a temperamental wall.
And maybe it would have been a shadow dragon this time. Who knows?
That would be cool.
With tentacles.
So as you go through this wall, you walk for probably about a good minute, and then you eventually get
Massive,
past
probably.
this wall, and what you see really is like, the only way I can describe it is like a meadow, so it's just a flat grassland essentially.
Okay.
In the middle, there is, I want to say, a fairly large tree. I would say about 50 to 60 feet tall, and about the same width as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like some Yggdrasil sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
I was thinking that's good.
in front of this tree, oddly enough, you see a set of table and chairs made out of stone and wood.
How many like chairs and how big's the table?
Oh god. As big as enough as it needs for the current conversation to happen.
Okay.
Think big ass round table.
Okay.
Okay. There's quite a few of you.
Okay.
To the left of you, there seems to be some sort of green portal, which is unguarded. And from time to time, you do see sort of like dryads and satyrs and centaurs walk in and out of the portal. Basically, looks like a highway of they. Basically, they're going to and from places essentially.
Okay.
The interesting thing is, as they get to the tree of walls, they don't walk through it. They tree walk through it. So they, like what dryads do essentially.
Yeah.
They put their hands on it and they just simply teleport away somewhere. Then to the right of you is a red portal. And this is guarded by about 12 to 14 greenwood wood elves. And if you actively observe that portal for probably about 5 minutes, you do eventually see like 1 or 2 imps come out of the portal, and they seem to be carrying some sort of scrolls and paperwork and books with them. And then the green elves seem to be signing things, and then the imps go off on their way somewhere. Now back to the centre. There does seem to be sort of like an open archway about 15 feet tall in this tree. And if you look directly at it, it does look like it goes down into the earth.
Cool. I'm gonna put Ron down and let him scamper.
Oh, okay, so he's rolling on the grass currently.
Oh, nice.
Okay. There are like woodland critters as well, like squirrels and bunnies everywhere. So it's like a paradise, I suppose, for creatures of this nature. And then the most prevalent thing, which I should have mentioned earlier, sitting on the tree, where the roots are, there's a man probably about 12 to 15 feet tall.
What the fuck?
What the?
That's a giant.
What does he look like?
Giant.
Yeah, but
Tall, lanky,
Oh,
very lanky, yes.
Oh, okay.
Then both go stat 15
He's
foot.
Well, no.
he's wearing a simple white tunic,
yeah, I was thinking the same.
Oh.
gold hair, and he currently looks like he is not sleeping, but in very heavy meditation.
If he's an elf, isn't that sleeping?
No, sleeping bells is
Does
trance.
he look like a human?
Hmm?
Does he look like a human? Or
He doesn't. He's humanoid, but I wouldn't say he's human.
yeah, okay.
Gold hair.
Yes.
Is there anyone written down here with gold hair?
I'm gonna turn into a squirrel.
Okay. Viola walks over to the table.
Okay.
And out of the archway from the center tree,
Mm.
walks out 5 people. I need to get the description of these people. So the most prevalent one is probably an elf, a high elf, which is probably about 8 feet tall. She has silver hair which goes down past her knees. Very plainly dressed in white, but her presence, it looks like she seems like the oldest out of the 5 people that have walked up to the tree. She does have like an imposing nature about her. The air around her seems how do I describe it? She seems like the leader essentially.
Yeah. I'm getting Galadriel vibes.
Next to her, you see another high elf, slightly shorter. She has short blonde hair, a bit of a mess.
Bit unkempt.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, with ringlets and straight. It's a bit of a mishmash essentially.
Okay.
She's
Younger, I'm guessing. Younger, I'm guessing. Or?
she looks younger, yes. Yeah. She is dressed in greens and blues. But as you notice, they're all wearing similar clothes, which seems to be this long, flowy tunic, like.
Like the big guy.
Yeah, the big guy. It went probably just above his knees.
Okay.
Well, there's only so much material for a tall person, isn't there?
Wow.
I wasn't gonna fucking say. Oh no.
You also see a wood elf. She is about the same size as the other high elf, but not as tall as the eldest one. Let's say that the eldest one is about 7 to 8 feet. The other two are about on the lower end of 7 feet tall.
Okay.
She has grey hair, and you notice her skin is extremely tanned. It looks somewhat bark-like.
Interesting. What else? So it's more, yeah.
And the other two then, you've met one of them, Sophie, who's that person you had a massive rant with, a bit of an airhead.
Yeah. The one who showed us around.
Yeah, to describe her again, long red hair, human, has a bow on her back, green dress. She's not wearing the same tunic outfit as the other three. Brown leather, gloves and shoes.
Wearing leather.
Gloves and shoes.
Yeah. Okay.
But the rest of it is cloth.
Okay.
And then the last one, which you haven't met, a half elf with blonde hair. She seems to be closely following behind the human, and her eyes are darting around a lot.
Interesting.
She seems like a half elf, but something's off about her.
What do you mean by off?
Appearance-wise, she doesn't. There's like her skin are green in some parts, and you get the vibe. Actually, roll a nature check.
Nat 20 plus 6, 26.
Jesus, this person has. You don't know how much, but she has above average fey blood in her. She's also wearing an eye patch.
Which eye?
The left eye. And the eye patch is it looks like she druid crafted the eye patch out of a flower. So it's just like a singular flower attached by what seems to be vines going around her head.
Cool.
But
cool.
her eye is the only eye you see seems to be darting around, and she's following very closely to the human. She seems a bit skittish.
I got Mad Eye Moody in my head, just as a this.
The three normal elves in the tunics in different colours go to sit down in a chair around the table. Sophie seems to rush over to you specifically.
While I'm a squirrel.
Why? Oh God, you're a squirrel.
I got very excited about this place.
We'll rush over to Ron. While the other woman with the eye patch, she doesn't sit in a chair, but she sits on the ground in a fetal position next to the table.
Oh, we all have days like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today was one of them.
I'm actually gonna go up to the one who's gone into the fetal position, like in the corner with the one with the eye patch, and just kind of like tilt my head and kind of like. Just kind of give her a
Roll
pour.
perception.
Oh god. Level 17.
As a squirrel.
As a squirrel, I don't have.
Oh, let's just say 17. She doesn't notice you at all. And what you get from that perception, you think that she's mentally deranged in some way.
Again, we all
It's Kira's definition of mentally deranged. Sorry.
She's muttering to herself. She's not noticing anything around her.
A bad trip.
Oh no.
She seems every once in a while she'll pull on her hair, and you notice one part of her hair specifically is very greasy. You assume that she's been pulling on this hair for so long.
Just grease.
Yeah, it's just grease.
I'm gonna try and go over to the other elves and kind of crawl up to them and poke them and get my little paw and try and show this deranged.
They seem to ignore you for the most part. Are you poking all three of them?
If I'm gonna go in order, starting from the shortest, and see if any of them respond, and if they continue to not respond.
So the shortest would be the quite withdrawn elf with short blonde hair.
That'll be it.
She does notice you, but when you in squirrel form, you point at the other woman. She goes like, she basically does this rant to herself where she's like, I don't know if I should help or if I shouldn't help. On one hand, I should help because, you know, she is a maiden. On the other hand, she hasn't. So she goes through this.
Like a Disney character, I'm just going to tug on her hair a little bit and just.
Okay. So yes. She'll turn to you and say, oh, I've never met a sentient squirrel before.
Just eye roll and just till you're pulling the hair a bit. Just go back onto the ground and go next to the deranged fetal position woman.
Okay.
And try and gesture them over.
Yet again she notices, and that yet again she goes on a turn monologue where she's wondering whether or not she should help. You get the feeling that this person is, the only word I can describe her is very indecisive.
Yeah, well, yeah, I noticed that. I'm trying to be a very stubborn squirrel trying to get her over here.
While this is all happening, Sophie is playing with Ron.
Nice.
And Viola has sat down on the opposite side of the three women that have sat down.
Okay.
And Viola motions to you to sit down as well.
I'm gonna look at Viola and just point at her. Said person, said fetal position.
Viola just turns to you and says, I'm sure she's just having a bad day.
I'm gonna go back into my halfling form.
Yeah.
And get a herbal cigarette and offer it to the deranged character.
Roll persuasion.
I don't.
This is going to be having really high.
Flat. That's 12. And that's
yeah, she completely ignores you.
Don't you wish I had +9?
I'm gonna leave it like next to her on the side, and then
Okay.
I'll go to the table.
Okay.
Can I try and sit closer to the person on the floor, or is this seats just put into the ground?
So they are planted in the ground. However, the chairs go all the way around.
Yeah.
So the three elves have sat next to the tree. If I'll draw it actually. Or I'll use the plate. The plate is now the table. So if the tree's here,
Yeah.
the elves are sitting here.
Okay.
Viola's sitting here. The deranged woman is somewhere over here. And Sophie's all the way over here somewhere, not paying attention.
I'll be over here somewhere.
Okay,
Next
next to the other three.
The badges.
Okay. So, as you all sit down, the tall man that's meditating, his eyes suddenly open.
Where is he?
Next to the tree over here.
Ah, okay.
He's very close. He's sitting by essentially under the roots.
What is it? What do his eyes look like? To be honest.
Violet.
Sick. Yeah.
And as he stands up and walks past the vines, you notice he does have a pair of wings behind him.
What kind of wings?
Seems to be a combination of leaf and bird-like.
Ooh, cool. Awesome.
A combination of white, golds, and greens.
Wow.
And he's quite tall, so he can't sit in a chair normally. So he just sits He takes up like a quarter of the table to himself and just plods down on the ground. And he'll sort of like, he'll motion at the table, and then out of the table sort of like Druid crafts a couple of wooden cups, and then they fill up with some unknown fluid.
Cool. I'll totally get a cup of one of those.
Yeah. It's water but has a slight taste to it. You could say it's something like it's like a watered down cordial essentially.
Okay. Getting hipster vibes.
Yeah. And he says, welcome everyone to this meeting that we have set up to address the current situation.
Hello.
Yes, hello. We have 2 new members joining us today, so I will go through introductions quickly. I am Landuin Aether. I am the twin of Aether Therius. Up to this point, before the war, I was more involved in things of political and nature and all that other stuff. Fortunately, after the war, my sister was damaged, and by extension, so was I. My sister has been in a deep sleep for the last 250 years, and by extension, I sleep quite often as well. I preserve my energy for moments like this, essentially. And he says, speaking of preservation, I will now let the others introduce themselves while I remain silent. The eldest one, the one with long silver hair, stands up and she goes, "Welcome everyone. I am Raja Aether. I am known as the Head Maiden. However, we do not have the concept of Head Maidens. However, I am deemed the most senior. I run the city on behalf of Aetherius and her twin brother. Ah.
Wow.
I run the city. I also tend to Aetherius' needs. She is currently unconscious in a deep sleep. I attend to her healing process. Unfortunately, no matter how hard I try, nothing seems to work, and that is my highest priority.
Have you tried these herbs?
She'll sit down. The next one stands up. The elf with scraggly blonde short hair.
Yeah.
I'm Indrel Aether. I'm a maiden. I do things. Yes. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on the situation. I kind of help Raja mostly. Yes, defenders of nature and all that. And she'll sit back down. Raja at this point is rolling her eyes. And then the last one stands up, the wood elf.
Yeah.
Magla Aether. I attend to more the security side of things. Do the rundown of what's happening around us and who we should speak to and who we should not speak to. I am of a different opinion of the other two. And as soon as she says that, Raja puts her hand up and then Raja goes, "Now is not the time for political squabbles." And the moment she does that, Magla sits back down. On the other side of this meadow, you hear, "And I'm Sophie."
Nice.
I'm actually Sophie Penny Farthing, but they named me Aether for some reason. I don't understand elves.
So Sophie's just Sophie. Sophie isn't an aether or anything.
Sophie is being adopted by a maiden, and as I said previously,
It's more of
maidens
yeah.
adopt the title of Aether
So is Sophie being given that name?
by the other three maidens.
Okay. Interesting.
And then Raja goes, the last maiden, unfortunately, is a bit preoccupied with some mind issues. And she'll point out to the woman in the fetal position. Amy Aether, our newest maiden, is an outworlder. A bit of an oddity, really. She was not invited by the other three maidens and was inducted by Aetherius herself somehow. I've tried talking to her, used some healing salves, both mentally and physically. However, she doesn't seem very adaptive to these sort of things. I believe whatever has broken her mentally, she has to work out on her own terms.
Do we know where she came from? Just gonna blurt out, not even doing any formalities.
No. We believe she was delivered to us as a gift. She does have a high level of Fey blood in her, after all.
Yeah. Looks like her gift is damaged a bit.
At this, they ignore them, and Landuin starts piping up again. So, what is currently happening in the current situation is we've got two priorities right now. One is that we need to heal Aetherius for the upcoming situation that has been foretold by the other gods. The other thing in question is whether or not the elves should take part in future events. Up until now, we have kept to ourselves, and the last 250 years, it is of some of the elves' opinions that we need to be more involved for the upcoming situation.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why this has suddenly appeared was thanks to you, actually.
I'm not. Is Kira being looked at?
Yeah. You see, Aetherius has not been...
She looks over her shoulder at everyone.
So you see, Aetherius has been unconscious in her deep sleep. Except for when you try to communicate with her through the Green Enchantress. You got something out of her. It's been the first movement we've seen from her in the last 250 years. We believe that everything has a purpose, and you must have a purpose in the current situation.
Just gonna lean into my chair a bit and go,
Alandrin sort of like goes quiet all of a sudden, and it looks like the way we describe it is slightly shut down. And then Raja looks up and she puts her hand up and will continue the conversation on his behalf, basically. Yes, the reason why we brought all of you here and you were invited was to find out what is poisoning Aetherius. Which, as I've said, is beyond my means, and I've tried everything.
well, if we all work together, that increases the chances of working it out.
The three capable maidens and I, and Sophie seems to be ignoring this, and Amy is on her own in the little world. So the three maidens and I have tried everything that we can, and we don't really want to involve the political squabbles of the 50 noble families. So,
Do we know how Aetherius got poisoned in the first place?
we believe it was relation to the war, and what is afflicting her seems to be poisoning her from the inside out. It seems to be feeding on her divine nature of some sort. you could say, a parasite that is feeding on her magical abilities.
How can we get to her?
No, she's sleeping in the tree right now.
Excellent.
I do physical treatments on her and ailments,
Yeah.
but like I've said, nothing works. This is beyond my capabilities, I'm afraid.
Should I go see her?
I mean, you could try, and with this, Sophie pikes up finally, and she's not dragging Ron, but holding Ron's hand, and he seems to be flying behind her. And she goes, "Yeah, let's go see Aetherius. She's really big, you know." And Raj just rolls her eyes and goes, "Yes, really big." So the other three maidens and Sophie will guide you down.
Okay.
Amy is still in a fetal position next to the table.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Oh.
Like I said, when you get to this to the tree, it goes down.
Yeah.
But it's not stairs per se. It's just like a cavern made out of roots, and it goes down probably about 30 to 40 feet down in the ground at not a steep angle, but fairly steep.
I'm visualising barrow dens from World of Warcraft.
When you get to the end of it, it's like a small oasis. So there's like a small waterfall, and in the middle of this sort of like large pond is this tall figure, about 15 to 20 feet tall. And from what you saw in your blurred vision with the Green Enchantress, you can assume this is Aetherius. And she seems to be just floating in this pond in a very, very deep meditation.
Why have you got blurred vision?
I had a blood vision.
You're with the Green Enchantress.
Yeah. This
Oh,
was,
right,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is ages ago. This is the first session.
This is a
essentially.
reminding you
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah, Kira doesn't know what to do with this. Yeah, wow. So do we have any ideas how to sort this?
So, Raja says, what, like I said, it's a parasite and it doesn't seem to be healable by normal means. We have some idea, I suppose, what could be happening, but I do not like the idea of the implications that it provides. At this, the wood elf, who seems to be the most vocal, who's been quiet up until now, is getting a bit antsy, and she butts in. What was her name again?
Raja.
Not Raja. Raja's the main one, the eldest one. Where did I put that?
Magla, Raja.
Yeah, Magla. Yeah, Magla. Magla's the wood elf. She goes, "Listen, here's the deal. She's been poisoned, right? But we're trying to heal her proactively and nothing's happening. So the only conclusion I can think of is she's been poisoned by one of us." It's an inside job, isn't it?
You all seem a bit picky, yeah.
Colonel Mustard.
And at this, Raja goes, I wouldn't take it that far. I mean, we are all devout followers of Aetherius, after all. Only the most devout and true followers can get close to Aetherius, after all. She's guarded by a living wall, for goodness sake. By Aetherius' sake.
I have an idea, but I'm not there.
Likewise, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Kira wouldn't know what to do with this. I don't understand why I've been called to this. I don't know why I've been given this calling.
So the task is, we want you to become a detective for us. I believe that's the term, and to ask the right questions to the right people. Unfortunately, like I said, our Elven Cities right now is in political unrest. So if we started questioning people ourselves, things might turn south. More south than we are now.
Might turn Shadowfell.
Here's your day stalker.
Hmm?
So here's your deer stalker.
Sherlock.
The name of the hammer he has is called a deer stalker.
Oh.
Did you not? Oh, you uncultured swine.
Viola at this point is like has been listening the entire time quietly, and she goes,
It's the elf coming out.
"Right, okay, I completely understand this, and this is very straightforward. Yeah, I'm actually more interested in what the deal with the other woman upstairs is.
Yeah. Should have been.
I mean, there is a god right here, but if you can't heal her, who can?
Yeah, no one's you to be interested in this gift you like to call her.
What?
The acorn.
Yes, I'll react to everything. The acorn heals Aetherius. Yay! No.
No, I didn't think so.
Said he would. He's
No,
done it.
no,
He's done. Oh.
no.
Force it down the throat anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel as if the acorn was something else. I feel as if the acorn was something else.
Anyone in Baji, they're the best ones.
But yeah, we if you really feel as
That's
if
one
the
of them, yeah.
the girl upstairs is really a gift, we should probably
I'd
focus
fight
on
you
her
for
first
it,
before
so
we try healing
get
gods.
Huh?
Well, he was too busy eating onion bhaji then. Sorry.
If we really think the girl upstairs is a gift from God, we should probably be trying to heal her before we try healing gods.
Which god?
Aetherius.
He's not there.
Well, you know, but still, Aetherius.
She's talking to the voice in her head.
Yeah.
Probably.
Wow, my conscience sounds like.
So my conscience has more common sense than I do.
Probably.
It's alright. It's
Calling some
used
gods in her
content.
head, most likely.
So Ryla goes, "That sounds like a good idea. Careful once you've made some common sense."
She's already going to start running up and
Yeah.
going back to the other girl up the top.
Raja's following you guys, and she's like, "It's no use. I've tried everything with the girl. She's not very receptive."
Which one's saying that?
Raja, the eldest one.
Yeah.
Have you tried licking a toad?
You go upstairs and rock falls in the head.
Maybe the one on the floor's had too
And
many
she shrunk a
toads.
little.
She speaks with an Asian accent.
He loves it. But
So you go back to Amy in the fetal position.
You want to try clean it?
I'm gonna try like sitting down, crossing my legs in front of her, going, "Are you okay?
I've got an Asian best friend.
Can you hear me?"
we gotta try.
Roll persuasion.
Again. Okay. Not 10.
Yeah, not getting anything.
Ron! Where's Ron? Ron!
Ron's with Sophie currently. They seem to be playing. Do you know hopscotch?
Yeah.
But he's in the air playing hopscotch.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try whistling Ron over.
He's receptive and comes over.
Yeah, Ron! Liquor! The same draconic.
He looks at you confused.
Not that way!
And then he goes, "He's only a couple of months old."
Who says that? Sophie.
No.
No.
I'm the DM saying he's only a couple
Okay.
of months. He
God's sake.
he says in common, "Food?"
And draconic, no, Ron! Never mind, go back to Sophie. I can't do this. I can't do this anymore.
At
Trying
this
to be normal.
Trying.
At this moment, you hear what can only you. At this moment, you.
Well,
At this moment, you can only hear. You start hearing in the background what sounds like, which can only be described as the beating of wings.
oh yeah.
But
Oh shit balls.
they sound larger than what Ron.
Yeah, I can gather whose wings that is.
Twin
It's
brother.
gonna be the tall guy, isn't
The
it?
twin brother.
Yeah.
And as you look up in the sky,
Twin brother's wings are fairy.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah, leafy.
Birdie wings. Right?
Yeah.
Oh God, where's my?
Did we just
subtitle?
write that down from the law?
Does Kira directly know that he's injured as
Oh,
well?
I wasn't paying attention.
He said by extension.
Yeah, he
That's
said,
this
yeah.
bit, not the law then.
No, this was this.
Good, I've been paying attention to this bit much. So I'm not there, I'm not paying much attention to it.
I
which
need to
makes
know
sense.
the colour of
Yeah.
this person.
Yellow.
I think it's good to walk.
Where's my side story stuff?
Oh, so this isn't main star shit.
Wait, so one of the gods is like disposable?
Yes, they're all disposable, like you.
Don't tell.
Don't tell her that.
Yeah.
Oh God damn it! Well, what lands on the ground is essentially a young dragon.
What young dragon? Like what color? What?
All of the above.
Yeah, a gold young dragon has,
Gold
has
dragon.
flown next to the tree.
How old? How old?
A young dragon would be at least 200, 250 years young.
Yeah,
Old.
okay. Older than
Yeah,
Ron.
Older than Ron,
either,
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle.
What's
Yeah.
Ron doing about this dragon?
He seems awestruck.
Yeah, well.
Ah.
Does this dragon have a frightening presence?
No.
No.
I'm
It's
gonna.
like,
What's everyone else doing here with about this?
They seem quite natural about it.
So unsurprised.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's Dave
Okay.
from counting.
Oh, you've done You pulled
What?
Chris Paolini on us.
Oh, here we are. Wait, where
Gold
are you?
Dragon, yeah, you have. I didn't even know.
Oh, I get what you mean now.
Yeah.
I don't think he's read them.
Oh, okay.
Just as a heads up, he hasn't read them.
Okay.
As well as one more wealth.
I'm gonna read those books again.
He walks over to this dragon, and he's, I would say, at least about 16 feet tall.
Book series,
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah. Oh.
no.
They could do them now.
And he says in common,
Give them to.
"Welcome, young
Oh, let's play
halfling."
this
Gonna kind of scramble and try and say in Draconic from what I can imagine. And just what comes out in Draconic is just hi.
Yeah, give them to. Oh, I don't know. Peter Jackson.
I was just out doing my regular rounds.
Yes. Good. Yeah.
My name is
I think
Catharsis.
Ooh.
The cat.
Catharsis.
Urza. Yeah. I think he was right.
I was found around 200 years ago by Landuin.
Found. Where were you before you were found?
I believe they told me I was from a place called Neverwinter.
Hear that?
Okay.
No, I'm not there, so it doesn't fine.
Oh.
The dragons from Neverwinter.
Oh.
Oh, you
Oh.
fuckface!
Oh.
You don't know the film runners
I
that
know.
has never winter
I
in it.
know.
Oh, you fuckface!
This is mean.
Murderers. No, that's
I'm
wrong.
going to step over.
But
Sorry?
what are you doing here now then?
Yes, the
What?
I was found as a young dragon, and then I was raised by Landuin. Currently,
Yes.
I only know of this
I
world,
did.
and I have been raised by Landuin and the other maidens in secret.
What? How are you happy?
I think I need to read the book and see the film.
Fairly so. I mean, I have everything I want and need.
I know Ron likes chicken.
I also like meat. However, since I live with the elves, I've had to adopt a more vegetarian diet.
As a dragon, that's really admirable.
Dragon. What?
I don't eat meat, and I still let Ron have chicken.
Sorry.
I do have the odd 1 and 2 boar, but that's only on a good day.
Aw. If you want, I can bring some chicken every once in a while.
I don't know what this chicken is you speak of.
Ron, tell him about chicken.
Ron will say, "Little birds, little flightless birds, yummy."
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Oh, they were brilliant.
To which
Sorry,
Catharsis goes, "Eh?
in the book.
I don't think a small
scary as
flightless
shit.
bird would sate my hunger, I'm afraid.
You get a lot of chicken. He gets a whole bucket. Admittedly, you're a lot bigger, so you need a lot more. But still, a little thing. Anyway, what? You said you're doing your rounds, but you came at weird timing. You were allowed in during a meeting.
There's a lot of good hooks.
I am not a part of the city. I am only a simple observer. As you know, I am an outworlder, as they call it.
Do you know about the god Atheros being poisoned?
That is a very unfortunate thing, I'm afraid, that I know little to nothing about.
But you were raised by Landuin, who's also injured. How do you not know?
I mean, I know of the illness, but I do not know of the ailment or the cure for it.
So what else do you do during the rounds? Where else do you see? You must see a lot.
Unfortunately, I am raised in secret, so as they say, I go out the back door.
Yeah. Everything get up on
The back door?
I travel the Feywild.
I never saw you do that during my vision.
I am in the sky. I assume you
I
are
guess I
too.
know.
You are too
Yeah.
short to see it.
Need a pot shot your height there.
And we're killing a dragon.
That's not
Throw a
very
stone at his
Yeah, we
nice.
kill him wrong.
I say it in jest, but you are very short.
Throw a stone at him.
But then again, everyone is short to me,
It's like
except
an explore.
Landuin. Although they do say I will be 3 to 4
I'm gonna-
times his size soon.
My wings gained me a little bit of levitation. Right?
Yes.
How far would that get me to his face?
He's about 15
Yeah.
feet in the air. You would probably be able to go 5 to 10 feet.
I want to boop him on the snoot.
This
Is
The fucking teeth.
yeah, basically.
Brilliant.
I am not sure where this wrath has come from.
rock.
Wrath. Wrath. Wrath.
I'll have you know that I'm here on very important business, and you should not be calling me
destroying the
short.
chat.
I didn't call you short. I just said in your vision you
Hey,
probably
what's
didn't
up?
look up in the sky because your eyes were level towards the ground.
Has everyone started to come out from under the tree at some point?
They're all behind you watching this exchange, and the 3 elves in particular are getting very antsy.
Okay.
Raja eventually butts in and goes,
Then round and take it home. It's empty, right?
Makes sense. I can take the cover out.
Exactly.
My logic is that he's
Listen.
Take rubbish home.
can you and your friends find out who's poisoning Aetherius for us as an outsider?
I could try.
You can use a process of elimination.
And then Viola butts in and goes, so what's it worth to us?
I just got that.
How do you mean?
I mean, we're not gonna cure a god for free.
Oh, it's you.
That's your own business, Viola. For me, it's everything.
I'm not sure the rest of the party agrees with that.
We're not there to.
If you would like to make
Has Viola
exchanges,
actually
then
paid us yet?
be my
Sorry?
Has
guest.
Viola paid us yet?
Yeah, she gave you gold on.
We got paid for one job.
Yeah.
Yeah, one.
No, 2 jobs.
Yeah, 2 jobs.
Remember, because you were like, "Can I have 5,000 gold?" And she was like, "Here's 10."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
We need to do that again.
Shut up. DM knows the trick now.
Ice. Viola says, "Well, if we're to do this job, we'll have to have the rest agree with us. I don't know even why only us 2
Why?
are allowed."
I'm gonna look around to the elves. It's like, why aren't you all working together to try and work on this? Why does it have to be
4 days.
us?
Be fucking minted.
We are currently in a state of political unrest, as I've said.
Have you thought that that's maybe one thing that isn't helping Aetherius get healed?
How about the theme?
It's only happened recently. I mean, recently is about 100 years.
Yeah, for
The
elves.
first 150 years, like I said, I did try to heal her with little to no success.
Tried to piss anyone up?
Anyways,
The weirdest.
Viola goes, this is pointless, just go
It
back.
fixes jelly strip. Jelly.
No, I think this is
fish
really
things.
important, Viola.
No, I'm saying the situation is important,
Yes.
but we need to talk to the others first. I don't even know
The
why
weirdest
weren't they even invited in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh,
To which Raja goes, they weren't invited because we need to keep the number of people close to Aetherius as minimal as possible.
Not at Ernie era, fucking hell.
yeah,
I'm
that's
not
true.
going to kill any gods.
You just point a fucking sword at it and go die, you dead
Well-
now.
What makes you
I'm
lot
not
equipped to think that my party is going to be capable of healing Aetherius?
It might, that's the problem.
Well, we've heard that you are
Oh, I thought it
somewhat...
would kill you, but now you're
capable.
alive. Shit.
We've also heard
Figure
that
that out.
you've been, as we said, we know you've been in contact with Aetherius, and for the first time ever, she actually moved.
Hmm.
For the first time ever, we also knew that one of your party members are heavily involved with one of the other gods. We also know that other party members are somewhat gifted in some regards. We also know that one of your party members is also a problematic existence.
Seems very risky. Is Landwin up here?
No, he
still?
is the gift.
He's sitting by the table, but he's zoned out somewhat. He seems
All of
present,
them
but he's
point to all of us
preserving
in very
energy.
I'm gonna go up to him
different
and kind
ways
of
for
tug him
each
on
one.
his
Shin.
robe, sort of short garment. What do you think to all of this? It's you who's injured as well.
Darren?
The
Oh
Landwin.
shit, yeah.
Oh, Derek. Oh wow.
Oh god about him. He's technically one of us.
Oh wait, shit. What's Derek doing? Has everyone left him to his own devices?
We've had a Derek free episode.
He's sightseeing.
Pretty much.
Oh god, please don't do this.
We've done it.
Is someone with him?
No.
No.
What was I doing while this was happening? What did we say I was doing?
I don't
last week?
remember.
I don't either, if I'm
No.
honest. I think I said I'd sit on it and think.
Yeah,
And it looks like I've got an extra week to do just that.
sure.
I'm with Derek.
Okay.
That's just as bad.
So I was thinking you'd probably walk off somewhere and try and make an army or something.
No, I'm staying with him.
Okay.
And you think the army might be a good idea?
Yeah.
No.
Mechanical army that answers to me and Derek? I'll kill Derek and then they just answer to me? What?
Right, okay.
Yeah, carrying swiftly on. That didn't happen. I'm with Derek.
Okay.
Safe.
Ish.
So
What?
Viola say, let's just go back and we can discuss it with the group.
You're making
And what has
grenades
Landwin
together.
said to me, asking
Oh.
what he thinks of it?
I think that
I'll think
whatever
of something.
you decide, the
The
elves will accept more freely. For you, for some reason, have been chosen by my sister.
And how do you feel about the elves?
They are somewhat misguided, and I believe a change in opinion is needed. However, how they attain this difference, I do not know.
So what position are you putting me in with this now?
To heal my sister, and to also somewhat guide the elves in the right direction.
Put a lot of faith in a little person.
Like I said, we believe you have a purpose.
And good things come in small packages like chocolate buttons.
And Asians, apparently.
So when should I return? And do you have any advice?
Well,
What are you paying?
I'm.
Kira doesn't.
All the toads you could lick.
That's not even.
I do remember being fond of books about detectives. I believe going around the city and asking people questions will get you somewhere.
I
at
remember
least.
one time something was coming out of the sky and I prophesied that it would hurt people and no one listened. So.
And nobody-ish got hurt.
Well, let's be honest. I'm sure now people believe you slightly more.
I'll do my best, but everyone
You-
else seems to be crazy.
You have.
Knowing that Kira's the crazy one.
You are.
Oh, I would also like to ask you for a third request. I believe my sister brought Amy here for a reason. And the other elves seem hostile towards her.
Hostile.
They don't like her presence. If suddenly a woman appeared out of nowhere and Aetherius gave her her blessing somehow, wouldn't that annoy a lot of elves?
So what do you suggest we do with her? Because she's not responding to me talking to her. I can't move her. We can't take her somewhere.
I believe.
Unless, how small is this person? Could she fit on Ron?
No, she's about six feet tall.
Who are we talking about?
Amy.
Okay. Viola or Amy?
Amy.
Amy, the one who's got
Amy, the mentally deranged one.
Catharsis could try and deliver her to where I reside, and I could tend to her in my own environment. Perhaps it's better for her to be with me as opposed to the elves.
I believe that this is an option true. However, if my sister has brought her here for a reason, maybe here is where she belongs. I unfortunately could not ask my sister.
So what do we do about the elves?
Kill them all.
I missed it, what?
It is my belief that
Well,
we need to steer them in the right direction, like I've been saying. They need to become more involved with other races. Otherwise, they will be doomed.
I will return back to the city and find out information on your favoritisms of detective work.
Yes, I have read a number of detective
Will I
books.
be called for a next meeting after returning, or shall I?
You will have access to everywhere now. This includes the sanctuary, and you can also inquire and speak to any of the maidens at any time.
Where are the Dryas now out of character?
Dryads.
Yeah.
They're still walking in and out of
Will
the
the Green
Feywild.
Enchantress be back in the city, or is that just
She
gone?
went back to the Feywilds.
Forever, or?
She didn't say.
You might be able to get a
Okay.
meeting with her. She might come back and meet you.
How long would it take me to return back to the sanctuary?
It was about a 20-25 minute walk
Oh,
away
that's
from
not
the
bad.
embassy.
Oh, that's not bad.
No.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, I'll do my best. It's a big duty, but
I believe that you are the right person for the job.
so it seems.
What a stinky thing to say.
At this, it looks like he gets up, walks over, and goes back to sitting down next to the tree.
Okay. Yeah, Viola, I guess I'm gonna try going back up to the person on the floor again and see if they're Amy. There we go. And still just
Boop ahead.
still just
Blue person.
deranged.
How are you doing this?
Just yeah, I mean, just give her a little touch on the shoulder a little bit, or
Roll strength.
we pack more dice.
Here's dice.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
Fine.
I mean, it's a
Well,
gentle nudge. Let's
yeah.
just say you fall over while you're doing it.
Wow. Well, it's
But she does react to this.
Yeah.
And you can see in the corner of her mouth when you fall over a slight smile.
oh.
She
Very
seems to
good.
enjoy your suffering.
I'm gonna tell her.
Fucking hell, she loves Slanesh
I'm gonna
to
tell her in
bits.
common. You know, you're very important, and Aetherius needs you.
That's all right.
Roll perception.
Do you want a different one?
That's
That's
16.
At this, she'll get up.
Oh,
She's
okay.
still mumbling, and she still seems quite scatty,
Well, take it easy.
and she'll hold your hand.
Oh, wasn't that cute?
But she seems to just stand there holding your hand.
So, when you say she gets up on her knees,
No, you're half dangling. You did this to yourself a little bit as well.
And Raja goes, "Oh, this is a first time."
This is the first time for everything.
I can't hold this together.
Isn't it good thing I had to let all of you in?
One could have just probably been observing.
You would I'd have been like.
Focus on this.
Would you like to join us in detective work?
She doesn't seem to react to this, but are you moving anywhere?
No, just
She doesn't react to this, but she's still holding your hand.
yeah. I guess just shrugging and. I guess look up actually because she's tall.
That's so funny to you.
I'm destroyed.
That day, a rock 3 sizes her height fell on top of her.
So she dwarf.
She grew in size.
No, long story short, if you do start moving away, she will follow you, but she's holding your hand quite attentively.
Do you want to stay here, or do you want to come with me?
She seems to be following you, essentially.
Okay, then I'll take her with me, and
In which case, when you start walking away with Viola, Sophie comes up and grabs your other hand. And she's like, "This is going to be fun!" and she says, "Oh, my father used to do this when I was a kid," and she lifts you up and swings you around like this.
what's happening to Amy when she does that? There's a recoil.
There's a look of shock. There's a look of shock, confusion.
Careful, everyone.
You might break it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Calm down, Sophie.
So currently,
We're gonna take it slow.
Go on, sorry.
But Catharthus will then say, "Would you like Ron to stay with me for a little bit?
Why?
He can learn the ways of my people."
Ron?
He says this in a sort of like weird way.
Ron, do you wanna stay here?
Is that chicken?
No.
Ah, no. Wait, you said where is the chicken?
Ron, maybe it is best you stay here for a little bit.
I mean,
It's either you stay here or you join us in detective work.
oh well, okay, bye.
Yeah,
Bye, Mum.
I'll be back really soon.
Yeah, okay, bye, whatever.
Bye, Mum.
I'm gonna.
And then
Ron, come here real quick.
and then you hear in the background, "This is how you use a knife."
No, I'm a bit apprehensive.
Practicing, what for?
So I've just traded my dragon for a deranged chick.
Oh, and you've got another chick, but she was a bit slightly less deranged.
Well, at least I picked up chicks. Picked up 2 chicks in one meeting. This was pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay,
Lost a dragon
there.
Yeah. Also a dragon.
So next session,
Nice.
we can actually start.
Yeah.
Do
I
it
can
moving
tell you
forward.
what I've done.
Okay, sure.
I thought about it, that the Demon Lord is
Oh
poisoning
my
her.
god, I gotta run.
The Demon Lord is
Thank you,
poisoning her.
stream.
I'm sorry that,
That
it
was-
was somewhat boring.
That was epic, actually.
That was very good, though. No.
I like that.
Don't forget you keep